Racks up a total of 9 more.
Oh, no.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Nhra winds up. Picked up! And that's your ball game! Trey Brown!
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
And here tonight, and he has simply been fantastic in college. You just remember, this guy had 13 and a half sacks in college, and he was drafted in the 4th round, and you go, okay, there must be something wrong with him getting a shot.
Have you downloaded the Sikkim 365 Radio app? Do it today on the App Store and Google Play.
20 for Cal.
Now here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
All right, here we go. This Monday, there's much like what I call notes, nuggets, things, whatever, about this thick of what I accumulated over the weekend from many things, college and pro football, the NBA Finals, baseball's postseason, high school football, and much more. There's 2 big stories today right off the top. Baylor's game with Oklahoma State. Yesterday evening, the statement came out, has been moved back to December the 12th, and Dak Prescott out for the year because of that compound dislocated fracture and dislocated ankle suffered in the game in a win against the Giants, and his future and how the Cowboys move forward. Paul Catalina, Craig Smoke, I'm David Smoke. CJ and Armstrong run the mothership on Sikkim 365 Radio. And lines are open right now. Your thoughts about Baylor and another postponement, and your thoughts about Dak and the Cowboys. 254-339-1122 is the number to call. Dave Aranda spoke with the media today in a teleconference. We'll have some of that in about 10 minutes. Babe Laufenberg joins us today at around 3:25 on the Cowboys moving forward. Paul Catalina, let's start with Baylor. That news came down. I sent both of you a text. Hey, something's about to happen. It's almost like I'm not even surprised anymore, but in the end, this might have been the absolute best thing for them because I think they would have been down about 30 guys.
Well, I don't think they could have really played. They could. I know that Mack Rhodes said that they were numbers-wise, that they could have played position-wise last week. They could have played a game. But what would it have been? I mean, they're lucky they were on a bye. And then as it continued to go, I mean, they just had their shot. I mean, would you have rather had this happen in the summer if it was inevitable to happen? Obviously, you'd rather it not happen at all. But if it was going to happen, you would rather have it happen in the summer where you have your massive outbreak in the summer and then you kind of piece it together like Oklahoma did or Oklahoma State did or LSU or Clemson and piece it together through the year. But this was going to probably happen, and it's probably going to happen to a lot more teams before the end of the year.
Well, you hope not, but Craig, it's just kind of what it is.
Yeah, I mean, nothing that really we can do about it as observers or anything that the fans can do about it. I mean, beyond our individual responsibilities, some who take it seriously and some who don't. Outside of that, in our everyday lives, we have no real effect on Baylor football for that matter. But, yeah, there's clearly an issue. The biggest thing to me is just figuring out what's going on. Like, what has occurred to where this has just broadened so quickly. And I understand that's how it works, how a virus works. But for some reason or another, it has hit Baylor in a really bad way. So something's fallen through the cracks. And West Virginia today, Neil Brown said they've had 0 positives since they played Baylor.
Yeah.
So you can't blame the Mountaineers for that. It would be one thing if they had come out and said, like, hey, we've got 12 positives this week. They have 0. They have 0 positives, and that was 2 weeks ago. So, yeah, I mean, it's clearly on the Baylor side of things. And I wasn't surprised. I mean, when the new rankings came out yesterday, Oklahoma State was up to number 7. And I put out, like, hey, if all things go according to plan, then Baylor's going to play the number 7 team in the country this weekend. And I knew full well when I put that out, it was 50-50 on whether or not that would happen. And sure enough, I didn't even have to wait 24 hours for that to just be completely off of the table. So, yeah, I wasn't surprised by it just because last week the feeling of how this was going was just so negative, and there wasn't really any positive toward the end of the week to make you think that they had curtailed it. So,
well, let me put it this way. We know that sometime when they decided, what was it, on Friday, that they can't, or they stopped or suspended football activities, there were more than 10 positive tests. By the end of the day on Friday into through Sunday, now you're looking at most likely between 25 and around 30 plus who have now tested positive since coming back from West Virginia. And let's make sure you understand this as well, that when they came back from West Virginia, not one football player that came back from Morgantown tested positive the day after the trip. There were 2 in the travel party, and to clarify some that get all upset thinking it might have been alums and boosters, that's not happening. It was a part of the travel party which could include coaches, staff, athletics administration, strength and conditioning, trainers, doctors. It could have been that. And it was. There was a couple. And then it kind of just filtered through everybody else, and now they try to manage it, and they won't play. And now the next game, you think it should be, will be at Austin a week from Saturday against UT in that crazy game between Texas and Oklahoma. We have so much to get to. I mean, it's crazy. 254-339-1122. That number's open if you'd like to discuss anything that occurred over the weekend, plus the Baylor suspension of the game against Oklahoma State. If someone asked me on Twitter, what's happening? Well, that's the question. Mac Rhodes, Director of Athletics, he will join us today at 4. Today at 4, normally on Tuesdays, and he might join us again tomorrow. But today at 4, I know that he mentioned this. They have been in touch. In fact, there is an analyst or a group that's on campus trying to figure this out to trace it back, and Aranda alluded to that a little bit today in the Big 12 teleconference. What else? Kansas State, Skylar Thompson, their starting quarterback, out for the year. Will Howard will be their starter the rest of the way.
And he did not look good. I mean, granted, they were playing TCU, but that makes a world of difference for K-State. They are not nearly as good now as they were with Skylar Thompson.
So they have wins against Oklahoma, and they have the win against Tech, and the win against TCU. Is that correct? Is that who they have? Mm-hmm. So, and again, they still have more to come, but there's a difference between Skylar Thompson and Howard.
Well, one of them is agility. Will Howard, at the end of the game, had a point-blank first down. He could have walked to the first down and tripped over his own feet, which allowed Kansas State to get the ball back, or TCU to get the ball back, and get ahead of a shot at a Hail Mary.
Yeah, but Craig, you brought that up, that Neil Brown said they've had no positives, 3 tests since Baylor played West Virginia. That was from the Mountaineers. Also, a huge win for A&M at home against Florida in a game that not many people saw coming. They had 3 skill people. All of them had big games. Spiller's a man. Kellen Mond had his best game maybe ever. And then also, I just went blank, Caleb Chapman had a monster game. But now news that he's out, possibly. Jimbo Fisher making that comment today, that he's out for the year with an injury. And, of course, he had a monster game, including a fantastic catch that tied the game up late in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, no, possibly. He's out for the year.
Okay.
I mean, he's out. So he got hurt on the game, on that touchdown catch. And you could see it when he caught it. He did not get up quickly, and it kind of dampened the spirits of the whole moment, because that was such a huge play and a huge catch and a contested catch. And while everybody's exploding in College Station, he's not getting up initially, and then he's trying to get up, and then he realizes that he's got to go back down again. So it kind of deflated it a little bit, but not for long, because obviously the celebration was on shortly after that, and that was a gigantic win for A&M. They needed that badly, and I think it'll stop the conversations and the questions about, like, well, where are they? And is Jimbo really got this thing? Is it really worth the money? And I think that's all kind of going to go away for a little while after that win on Saturday, so long as they continue to improve the rest of the way.
That was his biggest win as the head coach at Texas A&M by far.
Yep, it was.
And that was huge for him. Also, it's not surprising. He's won 8 in a row in his life against Florida. He's got the Gators number.
All right, I said this on Twitter earlier. It's almost as if Baylor football would have been better off having COVID spread throughout the program during the summer, and then by the time they get to August or September, things would have been much better. Clemson, you mentioned Oklahoma, LSU, among others. And, of course, here comes the fire ant of criticism, including some that say that's the most selfish thing you could possibly say. I didn't say that's what I wanted for them to have. I said it probably would have been better. Now, yes, there's also some shrapnel from that, but at the same time, other teams have had it. Other teams have dealt with it. Other teams are now not dealing with it much at all. That doesn't mean they're not still being safe. It's just a comment, and thank you for those who obviously, because you don't like anything to do with being out, you're scared to death of it. They're stupid.
They're mad at a hypothetical. The hypothetical situation is, if you cannot avoid this, if this was this was coming down the tracks anyway, if you had to pick your options, yes, you would have rather picked in the summer, but that's the thing. You don't get to pick. You didn't get to pick, and that's why. So that's the point you were making. And again, Twitter is not the place to artfully argue anything.
And so I've actually done a pretty good job. A couple of people on direct messages, we cleared it up. But Dave Aranda, I asked him that question today. We'll have that in a minute when he was on the Big 12 teleconference as well. And let me tell you something. I know that's the feeling sometimes inside right now, Baylor football. It doesn't mean they wanted to get it, but it's almost as if it would have been better, which is what I was saying, to have it back in the summer, clear through it. That, yes, be careful with it. Doesn't mean you're out of it, but it would have been a lot better than what they're dealing with the last 2 or 3 weeks or before the Houston game 2 or 3 weeks ago.
I don't really have the energy or the time anymore for people who get so angry and emotional and can't process what people are actually trying to say. I'm not even going to spend the energy on it anymore.
Texas and Oklahoma was a silly game. It was an absolutely crazy, silly game. Oklahoma had a chance to go for the jugular. They couldn't complete a pass. It ended up going forever and ever and ever. The bottom line is Texas is now the team that is who Baylor plays next. They get the off week, as Baylor is, of course, in the wrong way. But if you wanted to put a fork in Oklahoma, and my God, it looked like they had controlled that game. They were dominant third quarter. Paul, this is something you've been saying about Tom Herman football teams for a long time. 254-339-1122. Bijan Robinson, the running back, the freshman who's fantastic, he had 5 carries for 17 yards. Keontae Ingram fumbled on his first carry, 3 carries, 15 yards. Rashawn Johnson, 3 carries, minus 3 yards. Ellinger did great. He was fantastic. He tried to will his team back to win. He does not walk on water, but their running backs just don't produce.
Let's be very clear. He did not have a great game. Everybody's acting because they made a comeback like Sam Ellinger played well. He did not play well. Texas fans who watch the game will tell you Sam Ellinger did not play well. There are times with the Earl Campbell Award, if a guy has big numbers, even if they lose, you'll put him on there because you're like, man, it wasn't really his fault, right? He threw the pick to end the game on second down. That was a bad throw. And he had a lot of other moments in that game where he did not play well either. So, if you look at just purely numbers, you can go, oh, wow, he had 4 rushing touchdowns. He was part of the reason why they were getting beat in that game. They had no business being in that game towards the end. Oklahoma has a drop that would have been a first down that would have cleared the clock, had a phantom 36 seconds added to Texas's drive that allowed them to even have a chance to send it to overtime. So, Sam Ellinger played his heart out. I will give him credit for playing his heart out, but by no means did he play some great game.
And by the way, how many times do we have to see the video of him saying he wanted to be the University of Texas football player? It's kind of like Shipley and Colt McCoy. They were roommates. Charlie Brewer was not recruited by Texas. His dad played there. Get some new information, for God's sakes, if you're a television network.
Well, I'll say this about Sam Ellinger. You're exactly right, Craig. I kind of dove into this in the weekend review on Sikkim 365, and if you get a premium subscription, you can read that. But one of the things is early in game, late in games, he's got this magic to him. But early in games, he's putting them in the hole. He and Tom Herman in that offense are putting him in the hole.
Pick 6 against Texas Tech. Yeah. He had problems the week before or the week after.
And not even just pick 6s. Against TCU, I think he was 6 of his first 20. So that wasn't good. That's terrible. So he just was he's inefficient early in games. This offense has no rhyme or reason to it or balance or rhythm or whatever. And with the running backs, look, Tom, I get that, at Greg Ward at Houston and Sam at Texas, you've got great running quarterbacks. But what has that gotten you so far at Texas? Not much. Get one of these guys that's a 5-star or a 4-star recruit, teach him how not to fumble the ball, feed him the rock until he's so fat of it he can't run anymore, and you'll be a lot better. I think it's pretty simple.
All right. Now, there's other things in college football. The SEC is going through a time with their defense, and everyone's trying to find excuses. It's because the offenses have now infiltrated the conference. Great win for A&M. Clemson rolled in the ACC. They look good. Alabama gave up 100 points and still won. A lot of that going on. LSU's in a free fall. Ed Orgeron now got some audio later on about maybe that Bo Pelini hire and taking a couple of pot shots at Dave Aranda's defense wasn't a very smart thing to do. He's under pressure. And then there's Dak and the Cowboys. We're going to hear from Dave Aranda just momentarily. Dak, that injury, I always said he would be hard to injure because he's so big and thick and strong. And then you have what you can see almost 25 times in a game, that kind of a tackle. And, man, that was gruesome.
Yeah, that's the one that'll get anybody. I mean, it was really gruesome. It's really bad. I think that as those injuries go, that it's not – I mean, it's not on the spectrum of the Jason Kendall, Alex Smith. It's more on the Connor Barwin, who tweeted at Dak, and he said he came back fine from it. I think Dak will be fine. I don't think this affects his contract other than maybe overall number. The Cowboys are still going to sign him to a contract. He's not going to leave. Now, it certainly probably throws a wrench in the negotiations, but there's a lot of sympathy pouring out for Dak. I talked to Orlando Scandrick on my podcast with him today, Believe in the Cowboys. Orlando made it very clear. He had a 4-year offer on the table, and Dak said no.
Yeah, so even if it wasn't enough or he didn't think it was enough. Greg, your thoughts? You saw it was Joe Theismann-esque. It snapped, but there was no ligament damage, and that is the key, as you mentioned. Alex Smith, of course, had 17 surgeries. How ironic. Roma was doing the broadcast. Jason Garrett was there. Dak was playing. He was injured. On the same day, Alex Smith comes back from a miracle somehow from what looked like he would never walk again.
Yeah, let's stop comparing it to Alex Smith. That's like, I think, pumping it up a bit too much, quite frankly. But, no, it was a horrific injury. And it was just awful to watch unfold. And you knew at the moment that the play happened. You didn't take but a second for the camera to pan down, and you see the bones clearly broken. And they quickly pan back up. But, yeah, I mean, that's all you needed to see to know, like, oh, that's an injury that he's not coming back from probably this season. And I hate it for Dak. You know, I didn't grow up some rabid Cowboys fan, but I do I have had the ability to be around that team for training camps and, you know, games and all these other things. And so I'm not a person who's like a Cowboys fan, but I'm not somebody who dislikes them either. I have a great amount of respect for the team and feel like I can cover them without it being an issue. And so I grow to appreciate and respect guys. And I certainly appreciate and respect Dak. And I just hated that for him because of the situation that they're in. I mean, he's been the dude, and plus the contract year, all that comes with it as well. But first and foremost, he's got to get healthy, and it's going to be a long road for him.
Andy Dalton, when they signed it, that was a great. You could be like general manager of the year if he takes you on. Of course, in that division, they're in first place at 2 and 3. We're going to go to Aranda here. Mm-hmm. All right. So earlier today, Dave Aranda met through the teleconference in the Big 12. There was no other media sessions that there normally would be, or even one-on-ones. He initially answering a question about how his team responded to the latest news about yet another game being pushed back.
I think they are. I know they're disappointed. I think they understand that it's needed. This break that we're on, and I think they also understand the team that we've got and the importance of kind of staying together and staying focused and staying task oriented, as far as the next steps here this week. And so my conversations with them, just individually and in our team meetings that we've had, have kind of illustrated that to me. And so I feel, for as disappointed and frustrated as we all feel, I'm encouraged by just the determination that I'm seeing. So, we're taking it day by day right now.
How are you communicating with the team since you can't be with them?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a blast from the past there. So, we have Zoom meetings throughout the day with our coaching staff, particularly today, and then starting tomorrow with our players. But a lot of it has been, group kind of FaceTime texts, so we get a text group message and we FaceTime them and talk to the position group at a time. So we do that in the mornings. And then, I will try to hit maybe 10 to 12 guys a day and see how they're doing. Some of them are guys that are recovering. Some of them are guys that are just disappointed that we're pausing right now, and see where I can fit in and help, and really see where they're at and what I can do.
Thank you, Dave.
Yep.
Thank you. Next question comes from the line of Matt Olson from The Athletic. Your line is open.
Dave, I'm sure this is really challenging to pinpoint, but do you guys feel like you have some sense of, maybe the origin of this outbreak you're dealing with?
We have our health and wellness team as well as a specialist group, a retainer. It's on retainer from the Big 12. Really looked at it, and they're looking at the trip that we were just on. I don't think it's necessarily finalized yet. I think that's kind of where it's trending, and so I think once they finish up that study, then we'll be able to communicate all of it. But for sure, that was a definite area to focus on, and I think that's where most of the focus has been.
Thank you. Next question comes from the line of Dennis Dodd from CBS Sports. Your line is open.
That question was answered. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question comes from the line of David Smoke of Cyclone 365 Radio. Your line is open.
Dave, you guys did such a great job, it appeared, throughout the summer, containing any kind of spread or guys getting too involved in this COVID. Is it almost as if it would have been better to have things spread during the summer? Because teams that had that happen seem to be going full throttle, whether they're playing well or not now.
That's a tough question for me to answer right there. Some of those things have been talked about. I think our main approach has always been the health and safety of our players, and I'm really proud of the effort and the results that went into the summertime, and really felt good kind of going into the season of where we were and kind of best practices, and I felt like our guys had a good understanding of the do's and don'ts and all of it. But we have been hit multiple times here since the season started, and it's all been a lot of the origins have kind of been unclear, in terms of position group numbers. There's been other factors as well as just COVID, and so we've been fighting on a fair amount of fronts. And so I think to try to keep our kids healthy, to try to do things the best way, to kind of keep them out of harm's way in terms of endangering them or their loved ones is always going to be our number one focus.
Do you feel like now, because you've had this flare-up, really the one before Houston and now the last, 8 to 10 days or so, that you're pretty much, after this latest surge, not done, but you've got most of it out of the way as far as there's not much left or players that can be positive?
There is some truth to that. I think you look at our two deep. There's some of that. There's some of that statement that applies. I think we're still. We are looking at. I'm looking at things that I can do better. Things that I can. What are things that I can learn from this? What are some better practices? What are some better governors for any free time or any time outside of football? And so all of those are things that we're really looking at to move forward, because we do know that there's going to be a great stretch of football that we definitely are aiming to participate and compete in.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next question comes from the line of Jenny Carlson from Oklahoma. Your line is open.
Hey, Dave. How are you?
Doing good.
Good. Hey, if this backtrack look at this current outbreak, you come to find out that it did have something to do with travel, that's been something I've been really, you plan and you plan and you plan, but this is a whole new thing you have to plan for. Do you think it will change some protocols and procedures in travel, or was it a one-off that had nothing to do with how you guys had planned to make that trip?
No, I think it'll change things. I think you always want to be, and this is just speaking for me personally, but you always want to be learning and growing. And if it's one thing to kind of learn from something that happens to you. It's another to learn from stuff that you're hearing from this place or that guy or that situation. And so we've tried to be at that forefront and try to be on top of all of it. And going in, we felt that was the case. But the ability to kind of to take the talking to and to improve, I think that's going to be the big takeaway. And so I feel just moving forward, we'll put our student athletes in a better position.
Coming up next, former Cowboys quarterback and also broadcast analyst Babe Laufenberg on the Cowboys' life without Dak, and later on, much more, including Baylor's Mack Rhodes at 4. This is Sikkim 365 Radio.
The kickoff savings event continues at Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac. All 2020 vehicles on their lot are priced to move now. You can get it all. A smooth, quiet ride and a first-class interior matched with power and durability. The GMC Sierra is the best truck on the road, and during Richard Carr's kickoff savings event, qualified buyers will score $9,000 off a 2020 GMC Sierra at Richard Carr. The 3-row Buick Enclave is an amazing value in a luxury SUV during the kickoff savings event. All 2020 3-row Buick Enclaves are $10,000 off, or you get the versatile and nimble Buick Encore for only $19,900. And maybe you're ready to step up to the ultimate luxury and style of a Cadillac. Well, let Richard Carr bring the Cadillac experience to you with an XT4, XT5, or the full-size 7-passenger Cadillac XT6 and save $2,000. 2020 Cadillac XT4 start at only $34,690 at Richard Carr Cadillac, or you can find one of the best sedan values on the market with the exhilarating 2020 Cadillac CT4 sedan starting at $32,995. It's the kickoff savings event at Richard Carr. Score huge savings right now on all vehicles in stock. Go to richardcarr.com or come see the deals at Highway 6 and the Imperial Exit.
With more than 160,000 alumni worldwide and counting, the Baylor family is growing. And through the university's expanded Baylor alumni program, the family is growing closer. With hundreds of local volunteers planning events in cities and towns around the country, you can gather with fellow Bears no matter where you are. So, get connected, get something started, get involved, and make plans to get together with Baylor alumni. Visit us at baylor.edu/alumni.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like our free First mobile app, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, rye, brimstone, and the all-new lineage in stock. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
It's the heat of the summer, but the real heat is what you're cooking on the grill, smoker, or in the oven. So Waco Custom Marketplace can be your go-to playmaker for summertime grilling. You can't go eat anywhere else? Be your own chef with custom ordered and cut ribeyes, sirloins, fillets, New York strips with a focus on high-quality beef at a competitive price. Waco Custom Marketplace also has fresh deli cuts with sliced turkey, ham, pepperoni, or corned beef. Waco Custom Marketplace also your home for the freshest seafood in town. Salmon, shrimp, mahi-mahi. Great priced chicken products, whole birds, tenders, chicken breast, and wings. Waco Custom Marketplace with smoked items unique to Waco. House-made bacon, summer sausage, boudin, hot links, and German sausage. Every seasoning for every occasion, grilling, baking, or frying. Your hometown grocery store with canned goods, pasta, fresh baked bread, buns, chips, sauce, condiments to pickles, charcoal and lighter fluid, cold beer and wine. Best kolaches in Waco, mouth-watering cinnamon rolls, and here for the community every single day, helping you avoid the long lines in crowded stores, serving quality products to the Waco community. Go online for the weekly value boxes. Family owned and operated Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
The Sikkim 365 radio app is sponsored by Alan Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat in Waco. Your friend in the car business at Loop 340 and east of 84. Come by. Let's be friends.
Here we go, 331, Sikkim 365 Radio. We had Babe Laufenberg on recently, but with the news yesterday, we'd like to have him on all the time, but the news yesterday with Dak and the injury, the gruesome injury, he joins us and agrees to be a part of it after a long weekend with us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Babe, is it possible, as bad as the injury is, and he's gone for the year, is it possible you've been inside locker rooms where something like this might help others understand they've got to play better and it took this for that to happen?
Gosh, I hope not, Smoke. I mean, I hope it doesn't take what we witnessed yesterday for guys to say, hey, I think I need to pick it up a little bit here or work a little harder or whatever it is. But, sometimes it's interesting. They do rally around that. I'll call it a backup quarterback, but I don't really think of Andy Dalton as a backup because he started so many years in Cincinnati, but sometimes there is that feeling, and then sometimes there's also that sense that, man, we just lost our leader. We just lost our guy. So you never know how they're going to react to it, and we're going to find out, obviously, Monday night against Arizona and then for the remainder of the season.
With Andy Dalton, how much outside of the mobility, obviously, do the Cowboys lose on offense, and how much do you expect to see what they're doing change a little bit?
I don't think anything will change, honestly, and they really didn't run Dak a whole lot. So this isn't a Lamar Jackson or Kyler Murray, who, again, we're going to see Monday night at AT&T Stadium, where they run him a ton. And so now you really do have to change your offense up because there's nobody that can do what Lamar Jackson does, and there's nobody that can do really what Kyler Murray does for Arizona. So, again, Dak was, running the ball maybe 4 times a game. Andy Dalton isn't going to run it. He's going to run it once, maybe, just to keep him honest, on a little, option play. But the offense itself, it's going to stay the same. There's not going to be a whole lot that changes. And that usually is the case. Everybody always thinks, well, the next guy goes in, how much is the offense going to change? And it really won't. They'll run the same plays, same stuff that they ran for Dak.
Babe, I thought you and Brad did a really great job of after the injury. I mean, you still had the rest of the game to call, and it was an exciting finish, and you guys were very professional. Like, it never bogged down or got depressing because of the injury. But in that moment, as that was unfolding, just what was kind of the feeling that you were having and in the booth as you realized, like, this is not going to be good?
I probably just felt like the way everybody felt if you were watching it. And you were just kind of sickened by that injury. And it's interesting because Tristan Hill, he tore up his, knee earlier, going to have ACL surgery. And, when you see that, we saw he got his leg twisted, but you don't see anything gruesome, right? You're not looking into the inside of his knee and going, oh, wow, look at what happened to those ligaments. But with Dak's injury, you certainly looked at it and said, oh, my goodness. And as soon as he got tackled, I knew
it was not good. And then immediately the official over there was waving medical personnel over immediately, which you don't usually see. So I knew that was bad. And then we got a replay in our booth from the television feed of that play. And again, I felt like everybody, you just get sickened by looking at it. And just goes to show too, I mean, here's Dak, as durable as they come, durable in college, hasn't missed a start in the NFL. And one play changes things. Mm-hmm. And really, my heart went out for Dak. You know, he's put, and not the contract. I know a lot of people have brought up the contract and, well, he should have signed, or they should have signed him, or if he had. Yeah, that's probably the last thing on his mind. Certainly, it was interesting because Brad Sham and I, we were on break, and we didn't mention anything about that. And I said on break, Brad, I don't even want to go there. And Brad was obviously, I don't want to say in agreement. I think he knew too that we weren't going to go there. That wasn't the time or place for it during the game to start talking about that and the ramifications of the injury, other than just doing the game itself, which turned out to be a heck of a finish, obviously. And it's funny because I had done the A&M Florida game for Westwood One Radio the day before, and that game comes down to a field goal with no time left on the clock, and A&M wins it. And I get the same game the very next day. I felt like I had never left broadcast in the Florida A&M game, because it just turned out that the Giants-Cowboys were almost the same way, and they both had exactly the same finish, and they both sent their fans home happy, or as happy as you could be at AT&T Stadium after watching what happened to Dak Prescott.
Babe, the fact that the Cowboys have had a lot of things that have gone wrong, and a lot of it is self-inflicted, a lot of it is the other teams are getting a check too, but the fact they found a way to win the game, and they've almost found a way to win others, but they have dug themselves a hole, and they dug one yesterday. What does it say, though, that even though the Giants were winless and still are, does it say anything that they found a way still to win the game with Andy Dalton coming in when Dak was hurt?
I think you always look at those things and you feel good about two things, really, because one, they had to drive down the field, obviously to put Zerline in position for a field goal, but as big as anything was they finally, got a stop, and Giants took the ball over with just under 2 minutes to go, and a minute later, they gave it back up, and the Cowboys had the ball all three of their timeouts, and being able to move it down there was. Now let me. I'm going to backtrack and digress just a little bit here, but you're not counting on Gallup to make those two plays in one drive. If you make one of those a game, or one every 4 games, you say, "Wow, that was a heck of a play he just made." But on the same drive where we're sitting there reviewing and looking, and did he get his feet in? And both of them obviously turned out in the Cowboys' favor. That was pretty impressive. But the big thing is they know this. I'm not telling anybody anything they don't already know, and that you guys don't know, but they just can't keep falling behind the games. And they did it again yesterday. They're down 14-3 after the first quarter. And in the first quarter, they've been outscored this season 57-26. And so you just can't spot other teams 10 points in the first quarter and then think we're going to play catch up. And obviously they've done it twice to get wins, and they didn't do it the other 3. And each of their games have come down to one team having the ball at the end of the football game, needing to drive for a score. The Cowboys have been able to do it twice and haven't been able to do it the other 3. But if you keep playing these games like that, you can end up 8-8 at the end of the season. That's just the nature of the beast.
Babe, Christie had an interesting note during the broadcast yesterday in that the defensive linemen were very confused about their rotation and some of the things going on, and the defense looks lost most of the time anyway, or overmatched.
Well,
so how do they fix this? Because I get like in the first week maybe you do, but this is week 5. They should have at least the basics of who should be in the game down by now.
Yeah, and it was interesting because once Tristan Hill went out, I'm sitting there, I'm looking at Don Terry Poe in passing situations, a defensive tackle, and God love him, but at his age, he cannot rush the passer. He cannot get off the line of scrimmage. And I'm sitting there looking at him going, why is he out there? And then, of course, you go back and, they lost Tristan Hill at that defensive tackle spot, who ordinarily is your nickel pass rusher, and quite honestly has played very well this year. Complete transformation from what he did last year. But yeah, there still seems to be more confusion than they need. They had obviously 12 men on the field it was a punt at one time. The Giants were going to punt. They had 12 men on the field, moved it up 5 yards. So then they came out and hit the 54-yard field goal. So really the special teams play there, and by virtue of having 12 guys on the field, gave the Giants 3 points. So there's been more confusion than you'd like to see, certainly. And especially, you're 5 weeks into the season. I understand week 1, new staff, a lot of reasons why things are not going to be perfect, but 5 weeks into the season, you should know that you've got 12 guys on the field.
I know he doesn't have a ton around him right now, or even a lot, but what do you think of Daniel Jones and where he is at this point in his career?
Yeah, you're exactly right. I just think he just doesn't have any help. Their offensive line is not good. They lost Saquon Barkley, as we know, in week 2. So the one threat they had is gone. Golden Tate, solid third receiver. At his age, 31, he's not a speed guy. Sterling Shepard was not playing yesterday, but again, not a speed guy. And it asks a lot of a quarterback, a young quarterback, I should say, in just his second year to say, hey, we don't have a lot around you, but go carry this football team. So it's going to be a couple of years down the road, I think, before they can supply him with enough talent and offensive line help for that to be a good offensive football team.
Babe, I have a question. It drove me nuts. The Giants are 0-5, and there's a reason for that. A lot of it might just be who they have. But at the end of the first half, they went into, was it, Paul, is this when you and I were talking?
Yeah.
They had allowed 91 yards to Dak, and they had put pressure on him. And I heard you saying this. They dropped their safeties back like they were fielding a punt. What? And then they mismanaged, I think, the clock even before that, and they surely may have mismanaged it a little bit on the last drive or two. Is that just what bad teams do? Did you also feel that way?
Well, to your point on the safeties, I don't know that I've ever seen 2 safeties in that cover 2 look back that far, and immediately the Cowboys just said, oh, wow, thank you. We'll send C.D. Lamb right down the middle of the field. And that was just too easy for them. So they hit CD for 26, and that got the drive started. Yeah, when when you're not winning, when your team like the Giants, everything is magnified. All your mistakes are magnified, be it coaching mistakes or defensive mistakes or offensive mistakes. And, I'm sure the Giants look back on it also and say, we had the fake field goal for a touchdown. The pick play, they called the offensive pass interference where they had, I believe it was Slayton, for the touchdown that got called back. I didn't really see that as a pick, to be quite honest. So, when you're winning, things seem to go your way. And when you're losing, you can't seem to catch a break. And it doesn't matter whether you're playing 8th grade flag football or high school ball or in the NFL. The games are all so close. And obviously every Cowboy game has been a one-possession game. It was yesterday. That, they always say, hey, 1 or 2 plays make the difference. And it's just true. And then, quite honestly, on Andy Dalton on the scramble where he hit Gallup, Cowboys had a blatant hold that didn't get called. And if you're the Giants, you're saying to the officials, what are you looking at? I mean, it was blatant. It was out in the open. But, it didn't get called. And, again, that's what happens when you're on losing teams. That stuff happens to you.
I saw the official actually reach for his belt like he was reaching for the flag on the trail. Yeah. And he just let it go, maybe because I don't know. Yeah.
Well, they're not. Now, let me say this. They are not. The holding penalties are down by about 60%. Well, let me say this. Calling holding. Holding isn't down. but calling holding is down. I don't think the offensive linemen have cleaned it up and said, we shouldn't be holding these guys. But the holding penalties are way down. Defensive pass interference calls are way up, and offensive pass interference calls are down. So that's why you've seen literally a historic number of points scored. They're scoring at higher rates than ever in the NFL. And a big part of that is some of these penalties that they're not calling. And that was a great example of one. Maybe last year that gets called and the Cowboys don't score and all, everything changes. But this year they've been instructed. They don't want to have a bunch of holding calls slowing down the game. And obviously not calling holding leads to more offense, leads to more points. And that's what the NFL wants. So that's what they got yesterday.
Thank you, Babe. Appreciate it. I know you had a long, crazy, lengthy weekend. That's Babe Laufenberg, broadcast analyst for the Cowboys with Brad Sham. Christy Scales, the broadcast is just amazing. with the Cowboys flagship. All right, when we continue, Mac Rose will join us in about 15 minutes at 4. At 4:30, Billy Meyer, he's the track owner of the Texas Motorplex up at Ennis. And a little bit later on at 5, Phil Bennett looks back at the college football weekend. This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Ideal MRI, premium quality MRIs, convenient, affordable, and that's ideal. On average, an MRI can cost over $1,100, which means on average $1,100. Many are much more than that. Ideal MRI, their cost every time is $497 or less. Every time, $497 or less. It's affordable, it's convenient, it's easy to set up the appointment, and when you get there, you are the only one there based on how they treat you. When you walk in the door, get registered if you haven't already done that, and then when you talk to the Texan specialist as well about what you're about to deal with. If you've been in an MRI before, you know the machines are huge. They make a lot of noise, and if you're not, it's like a jackhammer. But the way that the one that I did when I was there a few months back, it was absolutely just as easy and comfortable as anything I've done when it comes to an MRI. Healthcare the way it should be. Ask your doctor if they bring up that you need an MRI for something that's more than just bumps and bruises. Ask them about Ideal MRI. They'll know at idealmri.com.
Central Texas traditions run deep all the way to the vehicles we drive. That's why folks trust Alan Samuels. During Alan Samuels Jeep Adventure Days, get employee pricing for all on new 2020 Gladiator Sport and no payments for 90 days. Plus, the tougher than nails 2020 Jeep Renegade. 0 for 72. No payments for 90 days or up to $6,250 in cash and subprime offers. Trusted. That's Alan Samuels, your friend in the car business.
How can we help you? That's a question we ask every day at American Bank. Hi, I'm President and CEO Dana Hassel. Our commitment to our customers is what drives us. It's why we've invested in new branch buildings and technology like ITMs that let you speak to a teller face-to-face from your car. It's why we work with local businesses, helping Waco grow and thrive. And it's why decisions about your accounts and loans are made here in Waco by people who know you. How can we help you? Find out at American Bank, member FDIC.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
What you do in privacy is your own business. What you do in public with your truck, well, that's our business at Pickup Outfitters. In your garage, it's okay for your truck to parade around in the nude with no accessories. Hey, this is still America. But when you bring your truck out in public, it's just common decency to put an outfit on your truck. And that's where we come in at Pickup Outfitters. Put a cover on that bed. Cover your rear end with a bumper and a hitch, for goodness sakes. There are women and children on the roads. And guys, don't leave your tools exposed. Put them in a toolbox. Be proud of your truck and stand tall with a lift kit. Or improve your truck's posture with a leveling kit. Add some class to your pickup with new wheels and tires. Or dress up for a date with your new RV or boat with a fifth wheel or a receiver hitch. At Pickup Outfitters, we're dedicating to making the roads decent for all Central Texans. So when taking your truck out in public, remember your manners and accessorize it properly with an outfit from Pickup Outfitters. 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Texas Farm Bureau Insurance in McLennan County takes pride in backing Central Texas football. Our agents would like to help with your insurance needs. Call 254-772-8090 for an agent near you.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Hi, this is Mart High School football coach Kevin Hoffman, and I'm a proud listener and supporter of the all-new Sikkim 365 radio show with David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
This segment with Mart Panthers football coach Kevin Hoffman is sponsored by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, Southwest Sports Medicine, First National Bank of Central Texas.
Kevin, you had the game last week canceled. You've had, back and forth, it seems like some other programs as well. But quick move in the game with Hubbard that was not this week but next, being moved up to this week because Frost can't play. They don't have enough players. How thrilled, in a way, are you? You just got to have a game.
Yeah, that's it. We're just happy to be playing a game. We've with Bremond shutting their school down and Chilton shutting their school down for COVID for through next week. We were kind of revamped the whole schedule and had it all ready to go, play every 5 days. We had a new schedule, and then Frost called and said that they didn't have enough players and they were going to have to forfeit. So then we started scrambling, and I talked to Coach Masters over at Hubbard and decided that see if we could, and the rest of the coaches said it was okay. So now we moved that game to this week. So but it's still crazy. It's going to be ongoing every day and every hour.
So could you actually win 2 games this week because of the Frost forfeit and if you beat Hubbard?
Yeah, it'll go down on the schedule as a win for the forfeit, and then hopefully a win by beating Hubbard. So, yeah, we could win 2 games Friday.
So what does Hubbard do? I know they've beaten Bartlett, Moody, Meridian, Worth. Oh, my gosh, they won at Wortham as well, and what was a huge win for them. They had the really bad day against Dawson. That's kind of a rivalry, but so who are they?
Yeah, Coach Masters is, the new head coach over there, and he's trying to put his stamp on things. So, but, they got some kids that can play. They got some speed. They got some athletes at several different places on the field. They got, some big offensive, defensive linemen. So, they're still trying to, like I said, find their way and, had some big wins, but then turned around and had a bad loss. So, Coach Grimm, the defense coordinator over there, has been there a long time. And so, they're going to do what they do defensively, and they're finding their way on offense.
One of the things that I noticed about your schedule, so you had the week after 4-0, then you beat Chilton, then you had last week because of Bremond, then you were going to be open again, but now you got an open week. You be open, the Hubbard game moved up, do you then have the next week off, and then you start to play every, 5 days or so?
Yeah, we the way that we kind of work the schedule is that we knew that we needed to give Bremond and Chilton at least a couple of days practice when they opened school back up. So the way it worked out was that the next week, I guess Monday and Tuesday, were going to be practice days, and then we were going to start playing on Wednesday, which would be the 21st. So their game scheduled for the 21st, and then 5 days later will be the 26th, which would be a Monday. So that's the next scheduled games, and we kind of moved all those up. And then the games that got postponed will be played on Saturday, October 31st, and then Friday, November the 6th. Those are the 2 weeks that got postponed. We were, put those at the end, and just move everything up.
Hi, this is Crawford AD head football coach Greg Jacobs, and you're listening to Sikkim 365 Radio with David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
This segment with Crawford Pirates football coach Greg Jacobs is sponsored by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, Southwest Sports Medicine, MP Electric.
You continue to roll. You just take care of business. 51-6 against Hamilton. 6-1 Rio Vista coming up. In fact, the media schedule with Bosqueville in a couple of weeks, but focus on Rio Vista. They've lost once to Bosqueville. What do they have? What are your concerns when you see them?
Well, they too are very similar to what we've seen the last couple of weeks. They're a spread team that has a good quarterback. He's very athletic, very accurate with his throws, and they have a good running game. And and they put a lot of pressure on you with their defense. So again, it'll be another challenge for us.
Other than the game, really, you gave up 17 to Toller, but the game with Bruce Villetti was somewhat, 39-25. You've given up none, 8, 17 to Toller, then 6 against Hamilton. How well is your defense playing right now?
Well, they're playing real well. They're complementing each other. We're able to bend sometimes and not break, but this past Friday, we played really well in the red zone. We had 3 stops inside the red zone that really made a big difference for us. So, yeah, we're playing really well.
Everywhere you look, there's somebody has a game delayed or whatever. You and I have talked about this. How proud are you of your team, of how they've remained focused on basically not just each week, but even mini picture each day?
No, they amaze me, because when they get out there ready for practice, that's the most important thing. There's other things going on in their lives and all the things surrounding us, and they continue to be focused each day and each week, and I'm really proud of how they have come together and unified as a team and are playing as one.
Your quarterback, obviously, Merende, played very well. A couple of touchdown passes. One of them was 85 yards. How much does that loosen things up for you to be able to run the ball like you've done forever?
Oh, yeah, that makes a big difference. And being able to run the ball is what allows us to be able to throw those big-time balls when we have that opportunity. So, yeah, it complements each other a great deal. Sure does.
Bird Culchin Ford has been in Waco since 1936. Ford, the #1 selling truck in Texas, 43 years running. And Bird Culchin Ford proudly supports high school football in Central Texas. And no better way to tailgate with a Ford than from Bird Culchin Ford. And are there better vehicles to tailgate with than the Ford F-150 or the Ford Expedition? And of course, you can get them new, pre-owned Bird Culchin Ford. Our sponsor of the Ford Tough Player of the Week, locally owned dealership. Online at bkford.com at 1701 West Loop 340 in Waco. Bird Culchin Ford.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, specializing in diagnosis and treatment of any and all sport-related injuries, celebrating over a decade of service to Central Texas. They tackle all surgical and non-surgical problems that arise from an active lifestyle. Trust the doctors that Baylor trusts, and when injuries sideline you, don't wait for Monday. Join us at 8:30 on Saturday mornings for a post-game injury evaluation clinic. Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. We get you back in the game.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and 2-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Texas board-certified personal injury trial lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recalled drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com. Principal office located in Houston, Texas.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Our weekly segment with Baylor Director of Athletics, Mack Rhodes, is brought to you by Edward Jones Investments Brokers. Tom Albers, Brad Wilson, Ben Erlinson, and Cam Heathcott. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
All right, there have been some events that I've covered, and there's been some monstrous events, fortunately, over my 39 years, no question about it. But one of them that always was a go-to in the fall was when I was doing talk radio at KTBB Radio in Tyler, and I'd go to the Texas Motorplex in Ennis. And I'm telling you right now, that was a lot of fun. It's exciting, the energy, and they're about to crank that up again. In fact, celebrating 35 years of world-class motorsports entertainment coming up this weekend. And we're now joined by Billy Meyer, Hall of Famer, who is also the owner of the track in Ennis, the Texas Motorplex. Billy, thank you very much. 35 years, man. When you hear that, what are your thoughts?
I'm getting old.
yeah, you are. But you've been able to. How much fun is it you're going to be able to still do this? Because some things have not gone according to plan, and apparently you're going to be able to have pretty good fans there as well.
No, we're pretty blessed. Obviously, it's late enough in the year. You know, if we were a spring event, you know, we'd have been up a creek. You know, but we worked so much with the governor's office, and they've been so gracious. You know, we ended up being the first actually sporting event in Texas with spectators this year. Back in June, and you know, haven't had any issues with any event. You know, been at 50% capacity. Looks like I don't think they're going to let us go. Maybe to 75%. I don't think so, but it is. It's been quite a blessing to have the state work with us as much as they have.
So this weekend is the Texas NHRA Fall Nationals. For fans who would want to come out and see that, so you can describe to our listeners, what are they going to see when they come out to that event?
Well, it is different. You know, if you've been there during the other 35 years, you know, it's a typical 4-day event with, you know, qualifying on Friday and Saturday for the pros, and then racing on Sunday, and sportsmen Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. You know, and elimination starts Saturday with them. But this year, obviously, with the COVID and all the things that are so different, and they're behind on races. So we have raised our hand and been willing to actually add an event to this event, which sounds funny, but it's going to be a double hitter, if you want to call it that. So we're having a national open on Wednesday and Thursday, which gives them on the 14th, 15th, which gives them the ability to have the sportsmen come in and run an event that 2 days and then stay and run the national event. So it cuts down on their travel expenses, and you're in a safe environment for the COVID problem. And so you're kind of in a cocoon. And so we actually are starting, you know, with a separate event, which is crazy because we run on the 14th or the 15th, and we never have run on Wednesday, and then you roll into the national event, which is Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then on top of that, which is another add-on, and they had weather problems at the last national event in St. Louis, and so Pro Stock happened to have not ever gotten completed, and so this year on Saturday, during the first round of qualifying for Pro Stock, they're actually going to have second round of Pro Stock from the other national event as part of that. And they're still qualifying for our race too. And then at the end of the second qualifying session on Saturday, they're going to have the semifinals. And then after we finish Top Fuel and Funny Car qualifying on Saturday evening, they're going to have the final rounds of the last national event from St. Louis at our track. So there is a lot of give and take in this world these days.
By the way, Mac Rhodes was going to be with us at 4 o'clock. He moved it back to about 4:15. Billy was going to join us at about 4:30. He was kind enough to join us from the Texas Motorplex and the Fall Nationals here at 4 o'clock to start this hour on Sikkim 365 Radio.
Billy, where'd your love of racing come from?
Well, I'm 66 years old. I started racing go-karts when I was 9. I got my funny car license when I was 16, the youngest guy ever still. And it's something I enjoyed doing all my life. And what made me quit driving was the fact I had 2 kids that were 6 and 4, and I'd been gone, 18 years of my life, had never been home, basically, to speak of, and just felt like it was time. I'd already built the Motorplex in 1986, and so it was time, even though I was only 33 years old, and had a great career, the second winningest guy, at the time, but, it was just time to stay home.
Billy, you're gonna. You had the event, the Hall of Fame, that you're going to be inducted or were inducted into the Hall of Fame for what you do. I would think, as a driver, as an owner, as someone involved as much as you are, what did that mean to you?
Well, it was great. Obviously, it was. I wish it had been a little earlier, but it wasn't. But yeah, it was a combination of what I did driving. And what I did, was also in the sanctioning body in '88, the other sanctioning body, and then I had the Motorplex built in '86, and it's been so successful, over the years. So it's a combination of just driving and tuning and just being in the sport all your life, and so it was a pretty great honor. Obviously, not many people get that honor.
Billy, do you have a race moment that sticks out to you as your favorite one? You've been in a lot.
Well, that's a good question. I'm not sure. Maybe winning the U.S. Nationals the week after my son was born.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Absolutely cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool. And then I actually I won the Mile High Nationals the weekend before I got married. And I got married on a Wednesday because it was going to be the only time I was going to be in Texas all year. So I did, because I was racing Amarillo the next weekend. So we got married on a Wednesday, which happened to be July 4th. So I won the weekend before at Mile High Nationals, and I won the next weekend in Amarillo. So I do remember telling my wife, hell, we need to get married more often. It's pretty cool.
You often renewing your vows. Hey, listen, I'm in a bit of a slump. Let's have a party.
Hall of Famer and Texas racing legend Billy Meyer with us. Again, the Texas Motorplex in Ennis is right up the road from Central Texas, or just south of Dallas as well. I've done the show there. It is absolutely as much energy as you could possibly imagine if you love anything to do with racing, and that's coming up again this weekend. Billy, a couple of things. You have been a part of a team with Hal Needham and also Burt Reynolds in the Budweiser rocket car, nearly 740 miles per hour at Edwards Air Force Base. What was that like to be a part of that specific moment?
Well, the car was built for me to drive, and it got delayed a couple of years with some problems with the builder, and it got to be some legal issues, and I was tired of not being on the road. I was having to drive for other teams because I couldn't own my own team during that time for my contract. So I drove just part-time in 75 and 76. And so I went back to driving and decided not to drive that thing. I did all the testing for it, all the simulator testing, all the G-suit testing, and it was a badass ride, I'll say that. The simulator stuff was real too. I blacked out. It works just like reality. I did a red out and a blackout, but when we finally got it, Kitty O'Neill drove it, set the women's land speed record, and then Stan Barrett ended up driving it to break the sound barrier. And so that was pretty cool. But the best part about it is I got a long-time relationship with Hal Needham and Burt Reynolds, and more Hal than Burt. But, when they decided to go drag racing, when they decided to go NASCAR racing, they asked me to put together the team. And so we'd have a combo team. And so, we sold a deal to Skoll. So I was the first Skoll Bandit funny car race team in drag racing, and they were the Skoll Bandit in NASCAR. and the name Skull Bandit came up because the movie Smoking the Bandit.
Mm-hmm.
So they were naming those. They hadn't quite named the little tobacco pouches yet, and they named them, Skull Bandit after that. So obviously that was a huge sponsorship for us, and it helped them get credibility, being involved with us, because obviously we had already won world championships and were successful. So my Hawaiian Tropic sponsorship was because of them. My 7-Eleven, Cheap Auto Parts sponsorship, I say because of them. I mean, I would love to say it was because of me, because of how great I was. but when you can get in Burt Reynolds movies with product placement, it's because of them, not me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it was a great, huge thing to my career. And Hal's one of the sweetest, nicest men in life. I mean, he was the coolest guy in the world. He owned the largest stunt company in Hollywood, so he understood risk and stuff.
Billy, I'm not very racing savvy, but I was reading about you, being your own crew chief for all but 6 months of your very lengthy career. Is that a difficult and abnormal thing for a driver to also be his own crew chief for that long? And for those 6 months that you weren't, was that kind of weird for you?
Well, I would tell you how it happened, what happened. I really don't want somebody else to kill me. I'd rather make the mistake myself. Tuning was part of it, and then being kind of a micromanager at the time, had a little bit more to do with it. And I'd been around mechanics all my life, and so I enjoyed it quite a bit. It did create longer hours than anybody could ever imagine. But when I hired Dave Settles, who's a Dallas guy, and he's won the world championship driving for Kansas Hughes, it ended up being the best blessing of my life, because I could spend time with my family a little bit more, and the Motorplex, I'd already built it, and we won 2 national events in that 6-month period with him, because I had gotten to the point I was not able to spend enough time, quality time, like I had for years with the team and with the tuning, and it was showing, because you could look at the performance before he came in '87 and the performance after he came in '87.
Well, Billy Meyer again with us. Texas Motorplex will have their event, their race coming up. AAA Nationals opened up this October the 15th, the National Open. Then Friday Night Live, AAA Texas Fall Nationals throughout the weekend. Also the Chris Kyle Frog Foundation event as well. You have to be a little bit nuts, don't you, to do what you do or do what you used to do?
Bull riders, there's a certain personality that does certain things, right? I mean, let's just say you're climbing on top of Mount Everest. I mean, I think that's stupid crazy, but yeah, there's a lot of, I think the drive to win has a lot to do with it. And so, I mean, and I grew up in the match racing stuff. And so when you see Friday night this year at our track, we're having a big grudge racing thing, which is rare, and we're having alcohol and we're having pro mod, and we're having motorcycle flying. And so, I got to do all that all my life and go to those kind of special events. And so you just get to be part, and you just seem to get used to it. But if you think about the craziness of, people think astronauts are crazy, or F-35 pilots, pretty talented and pretty crazy, but it's just really whatever you get used to doing. I mean, you can't, not a lot of guys fly F-35, fighter planes either with the G's they take. And so it looks like it's more dangerous than it is. I know that sounds stupid, but I mean, you can go 330 mile an hour in 1,000 foot. It's 100 mile an hour in 60 foot. Anybody's never seen that they don't understand it. And I've had George W. Bush there. I've had every governor there, Perry, everybody, and I've had them on the starting line. And I think Governor Abbott's coming this week. But I mean, when Bush was there, when Perry was there, anybody I have there, I mean, they jumped 8 inches off the ground the first time the throttles hit on the starting line with the top fuel car. I mean, it's 11,000 horsepower.
Yeah.
And people don't understand drag racing. It's the fastest accelerating vehicle in the world. And you only get to see it once a year in Texas, in Dallas. And so it's a pretty cool deal. And the fact that we do so many charities with the Chris Kyle Frog Foundation and all the things. But it's a special weekend for sure. And it looks like, unfortunately, since it's a shorter weekend than normal because of the COVID, but it's probably the best weather we've had in quite a few years.
Billy, thank you. Congratulations to the Hall of Fame. Long overdue. Glad that finally came your way. And also 35 years of the Texas Motorplex. I'm telling you, I've been there. I broadcast the show from inside that press box area. It is a spectacular event to be a part of, whether it's for an evening, an afternoon, or whatever it might be, the weekend. Good luck with it. Thanks for your time, and have a great weekend.
All right, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you for jumping on early with us. That's Texas Motorplex. Again, starts Wednesday all the way through Sunday. And it is full throttle. Stick your head in a tank of gasoline and light it with a match. And sometimes that's what happens. The things go up. It's explosive. And we'll have we're going to have a funny car driver, a drag racer, coming on with us sometime on Friday.
By the way, it's a good day whenever you get to mention Burt Reynolds on the air.
Absolutely. When we come back, we'll hear from Baylor Director of Athletics, Mack Rhoades, on the latest and the cancel or postponement of the Baylor-Oklahoma State game and what are they doing on campus. This is SicEm 365 Radio. Allen Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat Ram Power Days continues through the month of October. Allen Samuels, right now, here's what you have available. 2020 Ram Lone Star Crew Cab with Hemi or EcoDiesel, 0% financing for 72 months, no payments for 90 days, or you can choose $9,250 in cash and incentives. Ram, the highest pickup owner loyalty in America. Also, if you want, Jeep fans, the Jeep Adventure Days continue. Right now, get employee pricing for all in the 2020 Gladiator Sport, no payments for 90 days, or the Jeep Renegade, tougher than nails, 2020 Jeep Renegade, 0% for 72 months, no payments for 90 days, or up to $6,250 in cash and subprime offers. Also, if you want, you can go online, AllenSamuelsDCJ.com, drop by the dealership on Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco. Say hi to Ted Teague. And also, if you want, go by and see all the great salespeople on the lot to help you find the vehicle you're looking for, whatever it might be. AJ's the one that sold me the one I got just a few months ago after nearly 400,000 miles with the Tahoe. It's Allen Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco. Mack Rhoades is next.
At Baylor University, students find their place to shine. They're faithful friends and inspirational leaders. They're championship teammates and independent thinkers. They're on the cutting edge of high tech and in the halls of history. If you want to make the world a brighter place, you can. And if you want to shine in your own way, you can. The spark you need is already inside you. Bring it to Baylor, where lights shine bright.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humidor in the Townwood Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Born in Waco, Brotherwell Brewing exists to serve the Central Texas community with locally crafted beer of the highest quality. They want to bring Central Texas closer to the brewing experience so everyone can enjoy well-made beer as much as they do. For 2.5 years, they've been bringing high-quality beer to Central Texas at their location on Bridge Street in East Waco. And this football season, you need to stop by on game day for curbside pickup or stop by their tent next to SicEm 365 at Brazos Parking for your pregame refreshment. Brotherwell Brewing believes in community and bringing people together to enjoy products made in their community. So for your game day, whether it's a tailgate or at home, stop by Brotherwell Brewing for high-quality craft beer made right here in Central Texas, 400 East Bridge Street, and check them out online at brotherwell.com.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Car has the trucks, man. They have the one for you. Crew cab, short or long bed, silver, black or blue. Texas size selection, great prices too. Richard Carr, he has the truck for you. Carr has the trucks, man. He has the truck you need. If you want the best truck, you want a GMC. Texas size selection, great prices too. Richard Carr, they have the truck for you.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Our weekly segment with Baylor Director of Athletics Mack Rhodes is brought to you by Edward Jones Investments Brokers, Tom Albers, Brad Wilson, Ben Erlinson, and Cam Heathcott. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
All right, so Mack Rhodes normally with us on Tuesdays at 4:20. Little did he know that he wanted to be on with us so often, he wants to come on today as well. There's so many.
You.
I bet you did. So I guess the obvious question is, I know you had mentioned that you're trying to track all this down. West Virginia's had no players test positive since the game, but it obviously was a trip to Morgantown. Have you singled out yet where all this came from?
No, I mean, there isn't one particular specific incident that we've been able to narrow it down. And we've been meeting with Dr. Hostler, which he had a quote in our statement yesterday. He's been terrific. He's one of the leaders, if not the leader in this space in the country, particularly working with sports. So I think we feel pretty confident that we had a false negative, that somebody was on the plane that was really infectious, carrying the disease at some point in time. Maybe they weren't infectious right at that moment, but they became infectious, and then and who knows, it could have been one, it could have been two. The percentages say that it was probably one or two. And we know that, the antigen test, it is not as accurate on the false negative side, as PCR. PCR is the gold standard and remains the gold standard. But you have to use the antigen, on a Friday to get those test results back. And it takes more viral content to yield a positive when you use antigen. So that's what we suspect. And then you start thinking about the trip, right? And the plane ride and any time on the bus, the N95 masks and the goggles were worn, and our student athletes, our staff was really, really compliant. I thought we were really spaced out well on the buses, took more buses than we've ever used. We're really well spaced out on the plane, right? We reduced our travel party significantly from what it's been in the past, where we only have essential staff. So, we think about, Friday night, the team meal, could something have been transmitted at that point in time, even though kids were wearing, our student athletes and staff were wearing masks, and they were socially distant, and they weren't together for a long period of time, or, was it the locker room? And we know that, all visiting football locker rooms are smaller than what the home team gets. And so, it was very cramped quarters. Both the locker room was, and also the locker room for the staff. So, that's where we've narrowed it down to. We think that's, the likelihood of how this started, unfortunately. And so, as you can imagine, it's discouraging. It's discouraging for our student athletes. It's discouraging for our staff, because you feel like you're doing everything you can to follow the rules, and we certainly felt like we were going above and beyond, and then for this to happen.
So you've got two more plane trips for sure, and I don't know what you guys do about Oklahoma. I'm assuming that's a plane as well. But is that the kind of the area of focus right now? Is the plane in the locker room how to even get that better?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've got to look at that situation. I think do we do our this is where where do you draw the line and you start thinking about student athlete experience? Are we going to have our student athletes eat in their room, isolated, right, and without anybody, just their roommate? I mean, do we have to go to that extreme? So we're thinking about all of that. So again, we'll get through it, and it's discouraging, but we'll get through it. And again, shutting down team practice through Saturday through the 17th. Just you have to do that, right? It's the only way that you can break the chain of transmission, and we want to make sure that this is a 1 week, 10-day problem and doesn't become a 3 to 4 week problem.
Mac, just for the sake of shutting down really dumb rumors, has there been any thought in your mind at all about like calling it quits?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Thank you.
We still have 7 games to play. We believe we'll play the Oklahoma State game on December 12th, and hope that the champ game has to be moved to the 19th because we're participating in it. So there's a lot of football out there. We need to regroup, pause. Talking to Dr. Hostler, we were very intentional about 9 days. What he has seen in the NFL is when you have some positives and an uptick in them, they'll test on the 3rd day, and there's usually some transmission and some positives, and then on the 6th day is when you get a majority of those positives, right? And by the time you get to the 9th day, you see very little, if any. You really get into that safe zone. And so, when we got our numbers back on that Thursday, the 8th of October from the Wednesday test, and those numbers were elevated, and we had 12 student athletes test positive. We had 3 staff test positive from that Wednesday test. So on the 8th, when we learned those results, right, early afternoon, we sent home everybody immediately. And so we're really starting on October 8th, and 9 days from then, when we, everybody residing in place, and so that gets us to the 17th.
I asked Dave Aranda this question, and of course, a lot of people who want to take something and say this is what I wanted, but I asked this question, and I do think it's got, you saw Clemson and LSU and Oklahoma and other schools that had to deal with this pretty badly during the summer. While you guys did such a great job, it seemed like you kept it from being a part of the program, not completely, but whatsoever. It's almost as if, not that it would have been better, but it's almost as if he had this contract or this spread in the summer, you would have had time to get over it, although that still might have been unsafe for others around the program.
Yeah, I mean that's certainly a way to look at it, and I'll just I'll say this, and I think it's a fair question. I think it's a fair point and statement, but that's not what happened to us, and so I'm not going to spend a whole lot of energy thinking about it. I'm gonna think about how we move forward in the very best manner. And people have talked about the herd mentality and intentionally just everybody getting it, and that's for me ethically that's hard to really think about. I don't think that's the right thing for us to have student athletes or staff intentionally get it, especially a disease that we still don't know a whole lot about. And I certainly get that, this particular age group, is less impacted, but, man, none of us can look at, our student athletes in the eyes and say, hey, let's find a way for you guys to get it so we can get this done.
No, what I meant was unfortunately, had they gotten it, if it would have been during the summer, then you would have been done with it by the fall. You don't want anyone to get it, but in the end, a lot of those schools are not dealing with it now.
Yeah, no, Smoke, I know exactly what you're saying, and so I took it that way, but I wanted to touch on the herd mentality piece because I know that's been some conversation out there. And so I wanted to address that as well. So now you and I are on the same page.
Mac, how stressful is all the fact that, here we are 6-8 months into this thing and it's still, everything is so unknown all the time. How much is that just an added stressor on trying to plan things out when you're essentially, even with the knowledge that you do have, you're still at the end of it, it's your best guess?
Yeah, Paul, I'm certain it's stressful, and discouraging. But, it's become a way of life. Right. And that's the reality of it. It's the unpredictability of it. It's just knowing that, you can have a perfect plan and execute it at a high level and still be susceptible to it, that you've got to change plans frequently. This idea of, not being in control. I think we're all used to, people in a leadership position, we're all used to having control and just knowing that, that can change and you don't have the control that you would like. And so you got to stay positive. You got to stay flexible, be thoughtful, smart. And so we'll deal with it. And, we're going to release numbers, this evening. And right now, we've got 32 active, student athlete positives. Of the 32, 28 are football. We have 14 staff positives. Those are all football. And again, the prudent and the wise thing to do was to suspend team activity, team practice. We'll do some things this week, right? The student athletes that have tested positive and are in that 90-day immunity window. We'll do some controlled sessions with them, workouts, keeping them in shape. Those that haven't tested positive, you worry about them becoming deconditioned, and so we'll do probably 2 controlled sessions, small groups, and again, just being really, really careful.
So 32 student athlete positives, 28 are in football, and then the 14 of those 28 are staff members?
No, that's an additional. Okay. 14 people. So, and just full transparent, when we release the numbers, you won't see the staff numbers, the staff number included in that. We've never, all of our numbers, we've remained consistent. They have all been student athlete numbers. And so, I'm sharing with you that in addition to the 32 active student athlete positives, we've got 14 staff members as well that have been impacted.
Coaches or athletic administration or both?
Football staff.
Okay.
So you've got a range of, as you know, there's some administrative positions in football. There's quality control, there's coaches, so it's a variety.
Mac, is there a way that you guys are being even more due diligent and even more thorough, or are you doing more and being more transparent than anyone else? Because
than many, I can tell you that right now for sure.
It seems as if, and I know that others have already dealt with it, like I mentioned before, but are you almost even more, I don't want to use that word, are you even more tougher on this than maybe others are? And that's also one of the reasons you have the flare-up?
Oh, I don't know. Because I'm not, I don't know. I think, candidly, I think the way that maybe some people interpret, close contacts throughout the country, I think we're pretty consistent within the Big 12. There may be some variance there. For us, a positive is a positive, right?
Mm-hmm.
And once you have a positive, right, we're gonna deal with it, the right way. And I can't really, speak to how others are doing it. We're gonna follow, the rules, follow the protocol, in terms of health and safety for our kids. And we're gonna do everything we can not to err on that. So,
Mac, this went around, and I really don't want to. I typically don't ask you about like stupid, dumb rumors, but I asked you one earlier, and I'll just get them all out of the way here. But in the scenario that Oklahoma State is unbeaten, which is highly unlikely just given what we've seen this year, and they're going to play in the Big 12 championship game, and the Big 12 championship game has to move, is there any chance that Baylor-Oklahoma State game would not happen?
It's a great question. And, the conversations I've had up to this point in time would be no. The game is to be played. It's an important game for the Big 12. I think it's an important game, to be real honest, transparent for TV, for revenue. So, and I'm not going to say that, gosh, something, doesn't change given the world we're living in. But all the conversations I've had up to this point in time, that game is scheduled to be played. And the only question mark is, because it's going to be played, will the championship game have to move to the 19th?
Mac, I also know that a part of some of the things that is frustrating are the players who have student athletes who have not tested positive yet. Because of contact tracing, they get quarantined, or they aren't allowed to be a part of the practices or workouts, but you're not having those right now. But over the last 2 or 3 months, is that something that you wish you could get more your hands around? For example, student athletes who have never, ever tested positive for COVID, but miss chunks of practice time, even if they've multiple times tested negative for COVID.
Yeah, that's really hard. I mean, and I think, don't quote me on this, but we may have one or two that have been in quarantine twice now, right? Because of a close contact and nothing they did wrong. And so that's hard. And, again, the rules are the rules right now. And if you're a close contact, it's a 14-day quarantine. We're hoping that changes. Obviously, the safety is we're still able to provide a safe environment, but rationally, right? And I'm not very smart, but you'd think if somebody that was a close contact, and if you were able to test them every day, right, and they're negative, is the reason why they should be in quarantine. And, I think that's the biggest question that everybody is talking about, across the country, not just for athletics, but just, the general population. And, you may see some movement. I don't know that you'll see any movement in that, prior to football season. You potentially could see it impact basketball. And you think about, basketball, smaller rosters, you could wipe out a team pretty quickly. Now on the other end of that, right, you can have all of your your student athletes become positive and get into the 90-day immunity a lot quicker than football does. So we'll see if that changes. Right now we've got 17 football players in close contact, and we have a total of 44 student athletes in close contact. So 17 of those 44 are football.
And that's not to include the 32 student athletes you mentioned who have tested positive.
Yep.
28 are football players.
Yep.
Wow. Good Lord. Yeah.
Again, you're, and this is one of the things that you learn as you go through this, right? And I said it, I inferred it a little bit earlier. You can have a great plan and you can really be diligent. And I think I said it, I think I was on with you on Friday, and I said it, I was really proud of our student athletes and our staff, and I still am. I mean, I think they've really been diligent. We're asking 18 to 22-year-olds to almost be more mature than a lot of adults are, and not be social and to limit your social activity to almost nothing, right? And I think our student athletes and our coaches have done a really, really good job. Coach Aranda has set that tone, and he certainly has held and has kept people accountable. But you can do all of that and almost be perfect and still have an outbreak, and that's what's hard. That's what's hard with COVID. It's that infectious, and you never know.
Max, who's going to be the publisher for Dave Aranda's book on his first year as a head coach? Because this is a wild ride he's been on, isn't it?
I'm going to write the foreword.
Yeah, for sure. Man,
yeah,
but it has, and we have to keep the bigger picture, right? You certainly get caught in the day-to-day moment and some of the punches to the gut, but you have to keep in mind the big picture, and we'll get stronger because of this, right? This forms bonds, and if we handle it the right way, it can be a positive for us. And there's still 7 games out there, and we have a chance to grow and get better as people, grow and get better as a football program, and that's our mindset, and that's where we're going to head.
Mac, thank you for your transparency, your time, and good luck getting your arms around all this. I know that you got those people on campus trying to help you out as well with Dr. Hostler, and good luck with that. Thanks for your time.
Well, it's been a great team, and I appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
That's Mac Rhodes. All right, so he mentioned 32 student athletes have been tested positive. 28 of them are football players. 44 student athletes are quarantined with close contact. 17 of those are football players. That's in addition to the other numbers. And 14 football staff members, which could include anyone from coaches, trainers, strength and conditioning, whatever, they also have tested positive. And it's just something that just blew up. And now they're trying to figure it out. They've tried to do everything they possibly could. And now you wonder if they can get that. They're not going to do anything until what, the 17th or whatever day it is.
So Friday or Saturday.
And, there's still more test results to come back over the next week. And do they have an opportunity to get their hands around this and get this through the system, whatever's in the system now, for even the game that they have in a couple of weeks in Austin? But right now, you just hope that they can get it under control.
I know that there's some other teams having fun with this. I would be very hesitant to talk a little too much trash when we're not even halfway through the season, and there is a long, long way to go, especially if there is something along the lines of a false negative and then somebody being on the plane in the locker room that explains it. Like, that would explain how you got to this point, and that could easily happen to just about anybody. But, that's that's all bad news. And they've, fortunately got a bit of a grip on it, and now it's going to take some time, obviously. But that's just awful.
Yeah, and you're right. There's always going to be some that start to throw out, and you just told me not to respond to a couple of them. But
it's not worth it.
No, it's not.
Do you know what I did? And you won't do this because you just, for whatever reason, you won't. I went and looked at what you were probably going to respond to with something, and I just said block. They didn't even talk to me. But you know what? I'll save them the time from even attempting to, and I just block them, and it's over, and it's done with, and who cares?
All right, so that's the truth right there. Absolutely what's happened. They had this under control for a long, long time. And a false negative is what he says might have started the run on what is now an outbreak.
Yeah, but this is kind of like you said, it had it under control. It's kind of like, there's a shark, like you're in the shark cage, but the hinge is faulty. With COVID-19.
You mean the metal, the steel?
Yeah, you're in that steel shark cage, and you're fine. Everything's fine, except for, the hinge is faulty, so you're just hoping you can get out of the water before it opens up, and that's not really the case.
And so now you know why Oklahoma State was postponed, and now you know why they have to figure out what they're going to do. And, of course, I saw somebody just ask, Texas even want to play the game? Well, they could be next, and who knows what might change in the next week. If anything, it could get worse. This is SicEm 365 Radio. PettyClinicLowT.com. Dr. Kent Petty can help you become the high-performance man that you want to be. PettyClinicLowT.com. Go to their website. You can contact them through the website, or you can call them based on the number that's on the website and become the man you want to be. What can they do? They can get you discounted lab work, blood work. Dr. Kent Petty will look at the results, look at the numbers, your testosterone numbers, and if they're too low or lower than they need to be, he can put you in a program to raise your testosterone levels so you can become the high-performance man you want to be. Whether it's you don't have the energy, you're lethargic, your sex drive, ED, you may not sleep well. And a lot of that's tied into other things in your life as well. But at the same time, it could be your testosterone level. You say, I'm too young for that. That might be the case. But why not get the lower discounted blood work? Let him look at that. And even if your testosterone levels are fine, how about the PSA check that you need every single, at least once a year and maybe more? And everyone's been affected by that at some point in your family. It's PettyClinicLowT.com.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs, too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
How
often have you said it's time to get in shape? Every day, every week, every month, maybe for as long as you can remember? How about starting today? I promise if you'll just join Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness now, you'll thank me later. Hi, this is David Smoke, offering a variety of 40 group exercise classes every single week, including boot camp on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 5:15, plus spin, body shaping, Pilates, yoga, and bar. And there's a free kids club as well. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness open Monday through Thursday, 5 to 10, Friday, 5 to 8, Saturday and Sunday, 7 to 7, and personal trainers, Christy London and Randall Court. World-class tennis facility with pros Britt Coleman and Joe Rosa with lessons, camps, and special events. Spacious and clean workout rooms, locker room for men and women, both with a whirlpool and sauna, and now there's touchless bottle filling stations. No intimidation, tremendous camaraderie, an entirely new atmosphere, and yes, you can do this, but you have to walk through the front door. It's time to react today, not tomorrow. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lake Shore Drive in Waco.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. The Central Texas Players of the Week is brought to you by Bird Culchin Ford.
All right, here we go with some high school football. Thanks to Mac Rhodes, because the easiest thing he could have done is nothing as far as not come out, and especially with the forthcoming news and the numbers that are staggering with 32 student athletes, of which 28 are football players. Not including on that number is the 14 staff members, which could be coaches, trainers, whoever else. So
last night, Oklahoma State cornerback Rodarius Williams, who's a very good player. And by the way, am I plugged in over here?
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's not turn. Can you push that all the way down, please? Thank you. My computer's about to die.
Yeah.
So anyways, Rodarius Williams of Oklahoma State, he put out an ominous little, well, if you're scared to play, just say so. And I'm like, and now I'm sitting here thinking after hearing Mac of like, do you want COVID? Because I'm sure those guys would probably, those who are feeling fine would be happy to go play you. But, I mean, if you want the virus that badly. So, that's as transparent as it gets. There's schools that won't release anything. They will maybe release the number overall, but they will never, ever detail it as much as he just detailed it the way he did just now.
I mean, there's schools all over the SEC that are.
Right.
All right, so here is, as Carl said, his transparency is envious. Mac Rhodes is awesome. Thank you for his time. High school football. Baylor commit Jordan Jenkins continues his run. 21 carries, 200 yards, 3 touchdowns in Lindale's win against Henderson. How about Baylor soccer player Tenley Anthony, or commit, Kemp sophomore high school, kicked a 30-yard field goal as time expired last Thursday night to beat Eustis 37-36. She started kicking the football 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, apparently, there's the article out there that will explain the whole backstory to it, but a pretty cool story. And, yeah, she's going to head to Baylor to play soccer, but in the meantime, she's playing football.
Shoemaker wide receiver, Craig saw this. Monterey Baldwin has committed to play football at Incarnate Word. He's a really good wide receiver. Shoemaker's good, and I think they have Ellis in the open up district this week. So how about this story? Pine Tree High School in Longview needed a game. They then found a game with Kennedale, who's a class below them. They went 150 miles just to play a game. They get to Kennedale. They play the game. It's 10-10 at halftime. The stadium lights go out, and the game could not be resumed.
Oh, man.
Is that 2020?
Kennedale not paying their bill?
Yeah. The South Lake Carroll game with Denton Geyer has been canceled. It was made this week.
Carroll's had some problems, I feel like. Yeah. Or Allen had some problems. So, I mean, it's not like it's exclusive to anybody. I mean, this is all reaching in every way.
Offensive Players of the Week based on staff voting. For those who did, the Offensive Player of the Week is McGregor, running back, in a game in which Zach Roboczyk had crazy numbers, 386 yards, 7 touchdowns. But McGregor won the game 58-57. Chad Lawrence, 22 carries, 279 yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 catches, 78 yards, and a touchdown. Also a 2-point conversion that was the game winner in the win, McGregor's win against Troy, 58-57 in a district that's nuts. Defensively, the player of the week, Cade McCausland from Wortham. They beat Frost 60-35. He had 6 tackles, batted down 3 passes, intercepted 2 passes, one of them for a touchdown of 65 yards. And Quinn Huntington of Eagle Christian Academy, remember they only been in existence for like a year or two, had a 50-yard kick return in their win against Dallas Fairhill, 84-47. I want to bring up one young man, Ramon Manriquez, running back, quarterback, middle linebacker, kicker for Frost. They were beaten. He had 19 carries, 155 yards, and 2 touchdowns in the loss. He took over at quarterback as the quarterback went down and completed 14 of 20 passes for 145 yards and 3 touchdowns, 2 touchbacks, 3 extra points, a 2-point conversion run, recovered his own onside kick, and had 11 tackles in the game. And Frost is not able to play Mark this week. It's a forfeit because they don't have enough players because the quarterback went down and so did a couple of others. And unfortunately, they had to forfeit the game. And that district has changed up everything. They're going to start to have games like every 5 days starting next Wednesday. Mart will play Hubbard this week at a game that was moved up a week.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Sikkim 365's Richard Carr Cadillac Moment with Central Texas High School Football is sponsored by Cadillac, where exceeding expectations is the standard.
All right, so we have the Cadillac Moment brought to you by Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac. 10 minutes and 28 seconds left in the game. Centerville trailed in their game. Oh, my goodness, I just went blank. Trailed in their game 24-14. Cody Morgan intercepted a pass and returned it 83 yards for a touchdown. That cut the lead to 24-20. That also, they played Alto. They were trailing 24-14 with 10:28 to go, and Cody Morgan ran an interception back for a touchdown. Centerville went on to win and score the last 21 points and beat Alto 34-24. That is the Cadillac Moment, brought to you by Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac. That turned it around, huh? Swung the game a complete opposite direction. I mentioned what's going on with that Mart game. I mentioned South Lake Carroll. Geyer was canceled. Mart will play Hubbard this week. District 10 2A, Division 2. What they're going to do is right now, Chilton and Bremont are shut down until Monday. They have to have 2 days of practice. They will play a game when they get back on Wednesday the 21st. Chilton will play Frost. Bremont will play at Wortham. Then they'll turn around. The district will play 5 days later on a Monday, the 26th, turn around and then play that next Saturday on the 31st, Halloween day, and then turn around and play on what was going to be the off week, which is the last week, on November the 6th.
That's crazy. That's crazy. I'm glad there was some talk yesterday. You said Frost was a little bit nervous
Frost,
about finishing the season.
They're going to try to play. They can't play right now. They hope to be able to get enough players back. I talked to their head coach, Randy Fulton. That's the one who has Ramon Manriquez, who's such a great player. He's trying to do everything he can. So Hubbard and Mart will play this week rather than next week, and the Frost-Mart game is a forfeit. And good luck to Frost trying to get some pieces back together to have a chance to play their game. All right, coming up in the 5 o'clock hour, Phil Bennett, what he saw in college football over the weekend, what's happening to the SEC that invented football, leather helmets, and defense. Why did all that happen? What's going on with that? And then also, I don't even know if we have time to get to this. I put this up on our website, Sikkim365.com. Paul, I told you about this, and Craig knows. I have hundreds of these cassettes, something that these two, CJ and Armstrong, have no idea what that is, like 8-track tapes and whatever, like CDs.
And you've been trying to get us to use cassettes
forever
since I've known you.
I just blocked another person, by the way. It's just not tolerating it.
I'm going to have to spend I'm just not. What I need to do is what I told you guys I would do, and I'm not going to get on there.
And I'm not doing it like if anybody says anything. But if you're going to make a comment about the Baylor thing and use it to talk about how you don't believe in Jesus, then you're blocked. Or along, if you're going to start going off on like tangents like that, you're done.
Yeah, you're the idiot factor in full throttle. Now, here's what I'm going to do. I have interviews with Tom Landry soon after he was fired by Jerry Jones and the Cowboys. Like a year later, he was at a book signing in Tyler, like in 1990 or 91. I got a couple of Bobby Bowden, which was about David Warren and all that. And then I have one with Joe Frazier. My favorite athlete of all time is Joe Frazier. And I interviewed him in 1996. He had a book, an autobiography that he wrote. He and obviously Mr. Berger. And I asked you about this. Should we play it?
Yeah, I think so.
They just played the trilogy because Craig had sent me the text. Ali Frazier 1, 2, and 3 played back last week, I think on Wednesday on ESPN. And so we have it. We're going to try to run that at 5:30, although with all the news that's going on, I'm not sure we don't push that back a day. But I told everybody on the board, and 99% of them said run it.
Well, it's okay. Well, if we do that today, at some point we got to set aside some time to talk about the crazy college football weekend.
Then what do you want to do?
The high school football weekend. And I also want to mention, and I don't care when we do it, but just at some point, there's two big events.
We should have time after Joe Frazier to do it.
But
okay.
I think so.
I also want to mention, because this is going on right now, Rays lead the Astros 3-0. Houston's about to come up to the plate. Obviously, Rays took the first game, and it is the end of the fifth, so they are headed to the sixth. Astros due up Tucker, Correa, Gurriel, and Altuve has had two of the laziest plays at second base. I don't know what's going on with him. Some people are saying he's got the yips, but his throwing error directly led to the 3-run bomb that is the only score of the game today. So, Astros got some work to do, but, hey, they've got the lineup to do it.
Yeah, they do, and a great catch in right center or right field at the end of an inning as well. This is Sikkim 365 Radio. If you want the best when it comes to having beef, steak, custom made, custom cut to what you want, Waco Custom Marketplace is where you should go, or call or go online, wacocustommarketplace.com. You can customize your own order of steaks, the cuts you want. If you want to also pick up pounds of regular ground hamburger or sausage, or you want chicken with different whole chicken or maybe chicken pieces, or maybe you want some seafood as well, you can go online, customize your order, and then go pick it up when it's ready. Or you can walk inside their grocery store, which is the old-fashioned way, at 425 Lake Drive in Waco. They have, first of all, the butcher shop with the steaks, the beef, and all of that combined. And then you have sausage, the pork and poultry, along with seafood. On top of that, they also have a bakery department that every single morning, fresh baked kolaches or fresh made kolaches and fresh baked bread. And then if there are some kolaches left over, they'll put them in a sealer bag, put them in a really cold, like almost a combination of freezer, refrigerator, and you can pick up a bag and take it home with you and have one at your convenience. But there are sweets and treats in Texas Streets. And, oh, by the way, again, the butcher shop and the bakery open Monday through Saturday. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingram at the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like instant issue debit cards free at all of our banking centers, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Nhra Group Insurance Agency. With the Nhra Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Nhra Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Nhra Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, cause weight gain, and wreak havoc on your sexual desire and performance. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results, so if you're tired of being tired, I challenge you to man up and Google search Low T Waco or go online, pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $150 a month, includes lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, follow-up visits compared to $395 a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T is board-certified physician consultations, will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone available. Contact Petty Clinic Low T today, just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway. Petty Clinic Low T, helping men become the high-performance men they deserve to be. PettyClinicLowT.com or Google search Low T Waco.
Waco's
Toledo's newest gym, Halo Athletic Center, 5725 Bagby Avenue, right behind Region 12 and across the highway from the Central Texas Marketplace, where motivation, inspiration, and hard work are the driving force. State-of-the-art equipment, indoor and outdoor track, locker rooms, showers, yoga and bar classes by Duality Yoga, bod pod potty composition analysis, and registered dietitians, all under one roof where we rise above. Come join the Halo Athletic Center and be a part of the change, your change.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Employee pricing is back at Allen Samuels, exclusively on the king of minivans, the new 2020 Chrysler Pacifica. Get employee pricing plus financing as low as 0% or employee pricing and up to $4,250 in cash. You get Pacifica loaded up with style, comfort, and options all in one gorgeous minivan. Employee pricing with special financing or cash. Choices are always great at your friend in the car business, Allen Samuels.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. This segment with former Baylor defensive coordinator Phil Bennett is sponsored by the Nhra Group Insurance Company, where clients are more than just a policy number. See why thousands of Texans trust the Nhra Group with their home, auto, benefits, and commercial insurance coverage. Call their Waco office to speak with an expert at 254-420-3900 or visit them online at tngins.com.
Second down and 10 to the 25. Rattler again to throw it. Steps up in the pocket. Throws on the run. Jake Stokes. Touchdown OU.
The 5 o'clock hour is brought to you by Edward Jones and financial advisor Cam Heathcott. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
All right, here we go, this 5 o'clock hour, and we run you up until 6 o'clock, Sikkim 365 Radio. No Baylor game to look back at this weekend, and there's not one this weekend with Oklahoma State, and there may not be one in a week or two with the numbers that Mack Rhodes gave us just a moment ago. But good luck as they try to handle all of that. Phil Bennett. Phil, how would this affect you? All of these ups and the downs, the shutdowns, the delays, no practice. How would this as a coaching staff, and Dave Aranda, them are trying to do this as much as they can, as best they can?
You know, Smokey, I'm just sitting there imagining what these guys are having to deal with. You know, just the times and the things and the positives, the negatives, and you know all the things they're dealing with. They earning his money right now, as is our athletic director. I mean, but I will say this: at least we keep pressing, and we're not letting this COVID eat us up. And I think it will work out. But you know, it's really unimaginable when we go through this time that we're having to deal with this.
Phil, to this crazy football weekend that we just went through with Texas and OU first. I want to know this from our coach's perspective. I've always felt this as I consider myself a fairly educated outside observer when it comes to football. Tom Herman loves his running quarterbacks. He seems to love them a little bit too much in that he forgets about his running backs almost to his detriment. Do you think he puts too much on his quarterbacks when it comes to that, and that's what maybe causes them to fall into some of these holes?
Well, my answer to this is pretty simple. I am a Sam. This guy is fantastic. He is the best player on the field at Texas. And I will never fault Tom Herman for calling his number. Now, I think there's other ways he might do this,
throwing the ball, giving the ball to Ingram, giving the ball to Johnson. But I'm just telling you, that guy's a special guy. And they wouldn't even been in the game without him.
What did you think of that game, Phil? I mean, just in general, 4 overtimes. I mean, obviously it's a huge rivalry game for both. And, only one can walk away a winner. But I know they both look back saying, hey, we could have done this, could have done that differently. But, I mean, what a win for Oklahoma.
Well, I'm going to tell you something. You know, both of them are structurally very poor on defense.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they just, and when I say structurally, I mean their scheme, but also, and I say this across the country, this pandemic has affected everybody's ability to practice tackling. Everybody's afraid to be physical, and you can go game after game after game. You, Paul, your dad, they can all watch these games, and the tackling is atrocious. So I think it's a little bit of the situation and coaching.
Phil, the SEC invented football, and I know they really have. They back it up with a lot of their national championships and whatever else. But they are now the combination of what you just mentioned, responding to Craig's question about defense, and also the infiltration of the offenses, including what LSU won a national championship playing last year. Are they behind the curve in knowing what to do with this?
It's obvious. Very few people know this, but we were trying to schedule, before Art got fired, we were trying to schedule a first game with Alabama in 16. And also we were thinking about going to Australia to play Florida State, and Jimbo wouldn't play it. And Nick didn't want to play it. And it's because of that offense. If you watch what Jeff Lebby and Randy Clements did to Alabama, it's almost comical. And all these people want to say, well, Big 12 doesn't play defense. Big 12, excuse me. They take every inch of the field. We use turbocharged, signals where, they're Nick saying, well, I think they had our signals. How did they have their signals when they're going so fast that they're not, trust me, they're not worried about Nick's signals. I think they're getting a taste of what we dealt with 4 or 5 years ago.
Well, Nick and Brett Bielema tried to change the rules, remember? When Kevin Sumlin came into their league.
That.
I mean,
I do remember that.
Yeah, you can't snap the ball this fast or all that. And Phil, I'm sure you would have loved that. That would have been a great rule for you.
Listen, I remember this vividly. I was in Shreveport, Louisiana. I was over there, and the guy that is, I believe, the head coach of the Eagles was still at the high school, the private high school there in Shreveport, and one of Alabama's coaches walks in. And he knew me. It was Billy Napier. He goes, hey, Nick's in the car. I said, well, go tell him to get his ass in here. Come in here. And we were at Covington Baptist. And not Covington. What was the school? I can't remember. But anyway, Nick comes in. He goes, hey. He goes, I want to get you to come down and we have a get-together about defense. And I said something to Art, and Art said, Phil, I don't tell you many things, but you're not going to meet with him. He said, you're not going down there. He goes, we might have to play him one day for a big game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you I did not know about that story that you were looking at the possibility of playing them as well. Was it Shreveport Evangel, or where were you at the time?
Well, not Evangel. It was the other school. It was all the people from Evangel went to this other school. Started with a C. Wasn't Covington. It was another. It was one of those private schools over there. And they had 2 kids. They had brothers. We were recruiting them, and Nick was there. Billy Napier, who I ended up working with at Arizona State. Great coach, great guy. And he always told me, he goes, it was obvious that Nick Saban didn't intimidate you. I said, no, he didn't.
All right, here's some stats. Including the 45 points against Missouri, LSU has allowed more points through 3 games this year 96 than any other season in program history. The previous high was 90 in 1991, and Curly Hallman was the head coach, and he got fired. We saw what Ole Miss did to Nick at Alabama with your buddies Jeff Levy and Randy Clements and what they were doing, Lane Kiffin's staff. It's here, right? I mean, we saw what what happened to them, even though Mike Leach's offense has kind of gone backwards. We saw what happened to them. It's like some guy in the SEC, a friend of mine asked me, he goes, well, this is only because of COVID. But it's almost like
hey,
it's interesting now that all of a sudden it's COVID when it was the Big 12.
There you go, Phil. That's what it was before. It was just some different disease.
You just didn't know about it.
You didn't know.
Yeah.
Well, you guys all know that when that run we had in 12, 13, 14, 15, they were all saying, oh, Big 12 doesn't play defense. Well, the truth of the matter is we just defined. I went to the A&M Florida game, and I told my friend, Mark Dennert, who owns Wings and More here in College Station, I said it's going to be a shootout because Florida's horrible on defense, and both offenses are pretty good. And obviously it became a 41-38 game. And the thing you realize is that everybody is running, and I'm not saying this because I was there, but Art has had his scheme has had an impact on everybody. I mean, Dan Mullen, they're throwing the dickens out of it, stretching the field from sideline to sideline, and it's just people are saying that playing defense is hard. How many possessions can you play? And it's not about total yards. As we've said many times, David, you and I have talked, it's about points, per possession and yards per snap. A&M gave up 7.9 yards a snap and won the game. Is that unbelievable?
Dang, I didn't know it was that.
Yeah.
Golly. And so, does it matter? And, we've asked you this before, the defensive coordinator of a team that has a team that's going to go high octane. Can you do both? Can you have that? LSU tried. Dave Aranda eventually tweaked some things last year. Can you do both? Play that kind of offense and play championship defense?
Yeah. And it becomes now, you have to change. I'm going to tell you, and I mean this, 15, if we don't lose our quarterback, Baylor wins the national championship. We were good enough on defense to match with anybody. And then, of course, we end the season, we have zero quarterback. It was unfortunate. If Jared Stidham just stays healthy against OU, we will beat OU and we will win out. And yes, you can do it, but you have to change your philosophy. You're not going to be a guy. It ain't going to be 300 yards a game. You might give up 400, 450, but how many snaps? How do you? It becomes a game that if you watch the Alabama and the Ole Miss game, you looked at it, and here's the difference. Mississippi ran, I think, 86 plays. Alabama only ran 56. Alabama averaged almost 11 yards a snap. And you've got to get, I've told you this many times, Smoke, just stop them. Get a stop here, a stop there, get a takeaway, get a turnover, and then get your people better, and you'll have a chance. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, we were as good as anybody in the country and on both sides of the ball. But you got to have that ability to get a stop.
Phil, going back to Florida and A&M real quick, you mentioned Dan Mullen and the system he's running. It's different, isn't it, than what he ran with Tim Tebow and with Dak Prescott before, because that was more almost like an inverted veer that they were running there. And this is more of what you saw when you were here.
Yeah, it's a spread offense. It's sideline to sideline. And I'm going to tell you something. Jimbo Fisher, give him credit. Jimbo Fisher knows what his quarterback can do. And he ran the spread, ran the power. Looked very similar to what we used to do. Spillers became a great one-back runner in that game. When people get spread out, run the ball, you count how many's in the box, and he really did a good job.
Phil, the SEC's come out and admitted it by now, but how badly did Kendall and the Razorbacks get screwed on Saturday night?
Oh, what a heartbreaker. What a heartbreaker. Absolutely. I mean, I'm so proud of Kendall. Kendall's given us, with that quarterback, he's given them life. And, if they would have got the ball back, they would have won the game. And it was, they'd beaten Mississippi State, and it was heartbreaking. But, that's the nature of the beast with these, officials, unfortunately, they have the ability to screw up, and they did. And I think they even owed up to it.
Phil, Baylor's not going to practice until next week, and that's if they get whatever they have dealing with now under control, which the Mac Rhodes was on, and he told us the numbers: 32 student athletes, 28 are football players. That's who's tested positive. 44 student athletes are in quarantine, contact tracing. 17 are football players, 14 staff members. It's a number that's kind of hard to put your head around it, but it's true. The chances you think they'll play?
I do, because you know what? I think people have taken on the mentality. I mean, one of the things I love about our president is he realized that this COVID is going to be around, but we can't let it manage us. We've got to find a way to manage it. And, I think Mac Rhodes is a smart guy. I think he's good. I think Dave Aranda's good. And I think they will find a way to get around this with let me say this, with player safety first, and then and manage it and get it done.
Anything else, guys?
Nope.
Phil, thank you, man. Appreciate you always. We appreciate it. Hopefully in a couple of weeks we'll have a game to look back on when it comes to Baylor.
We gotta start talking about football.
Yeah, I know. I know. Did you watch the Cowboys game? Did you see Dak's injury?
You know what? My heart broke for him. I mean, yes. I didn't see the injury. I don't want to see it. I just I like Dak Prescott. He's a man's man.
Yep. Mm-hmm. No question about it. Thanks for your time, Phil. We appreciate your time.
All right.
Greg,
all right, guys. We'll talk next week.
All right. Go ahead. All right. Thanks to Phil Bennett, former Baylor defensive coordinator. Boy, we handled a lot there when it comes to college football, huh? A bunch.
Yeah. I'm now 0 for 2 on my Sam Ehlinger, Tom Herman theory. I've asked Sam Bradshaw and Phil Bennett, and they both support the other side of the theory. I need to find some sort of mad scientist that agrees with me.
About Herman and
about Herman's
backs?
Offense. It just
ever considered maybe you're wrong?
I'm not considering maybe I'm wrong, but I do. But I'm curious to know if there's somebody that would agree with me. I think he puts, and it's not. I'm not knocking Sam Ehlinger. I mean, he's not an efficient passer, but he absolutely gets too much put on him. And I think it's the same thing of the function of the Cowboys have done with their quarterbacks forever. It's just like, hey, go win it for us. Go win it for us. Go win it for us. Well, you can't do that every time.
Well, they're not going to be able to do it now. Well, I mean, Dalton still has played a long time. And the frustrations with him, of course, has been that Cincinnati couldn't win playoff games. But most people would like to still have, most quarterbacks have not had as good a year or career as he's had. I mean, when you think about the hundreds who have played the game.
Talking about Sam?
Yeah, no. Andy Dalton with Cincinnati.
Oh, okay.
That's Cincinnati. It's like one of those franchises that struggled. It wasn't just Andy Dalton. But Ehlinger, the thing is Craig made the point earlier. You put so much on him, and he's actually, is he as good as he was as a freshman or a sophomore? Or has he had to go backwards a little bit because so much is put on him? And also, does he have to feel himself as if he's got to do it all, and then that leads to mistakes that he's made, which it seems to be true. Here, I'm going to make an executive decision. We have the Joe Frazier interview. We were going to run it today, and I even said on the board when I put up the schedule, this could be moved back, and we're going to do that because there is so much to still get to. We've reviewed it with Phil Bennett. We've had Mac Rhodes and all of that. Here's what I'd like to do. Open the lines up. Your thoughts about the Mac Rhodes segment, about Phil Bennett, about Dak Prescott and the injury as the Cowboys move forward. 254-339-1122. We've got a couple of comments from Mike Gundy about the ups and downs of being stopped and not. We'll update the Astros in a second. And Ed Orgeron, after the game when they gave up 45 points to Missouri, and his thoughts about Bo Pelini, which he's doubled down on that, in fact, today.
So we got 4 other people that may please make a note because I won't remember, because even if I write it down, it'll get blogged or it'll get clogged up with some other notes that I make and I'll forget it. But what I was trying to ask Phil Bennett at the very end was about the LSU defense and Bo Pelini and what the differences are with what Dave Aranda was doing. So please remind me to ask him that next week.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
And I'd be very curious to hear his opinion on that.
I know the biggest difference. They're not tackling.
Yeah, no, I mean,
that's number one.
Yeah, he was on his way off the phone. He got to traffic.
Wow.
Too much traffic.
523, this is Sikkim 365 Radio.
If you are looking to buy a new home or trying to sell the one you're in, or probably both if you're in the market for a house, then you need to call my friend Lance Donaldson at EXP Realty and the Donaldson family team. Lance is absolutely fantastic. He's got great listings on the site right now, everywhere, here in McLennan County in Waco or Hewitt or China Spring, Bosqueville, all the way out to, he's got some great spots out in Limestone County. So whatever you're looking for, Lance can find it for you. And he's going to hear what you have to say, and he's going to help you find that dream home, that perfect spot where you can build, where you can or that home that you just fits your family perfectly. That's what Lance can do. Check him out online at lancedonaldson.exprealty.com or give him a call, 254-214-3713 for Lance Donaldson and EXP Realty.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Nhra Group Insurance Agency. With the Nhra Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Nhra Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Nhra Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, rye, brimstone, and the all-new lineage in stock. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
It's the heat of the summer, but the real heat is what you're cooking on the grill, smoker, or in the oven. So Waco Custom Marketplace can be your go-to playmaker for summertime grilling. You can't go eat anywhere else? Be your own chef with custom ordered and cut ribeyes, sirloins, fillets, New York strips with a focus on high-quality beef at a competitive price. Waco Custom Marketplace also has fresh deli cuts with sliced turkey, ham, pepperoni, or corned beef. Waco Custom Marketplace also your home for the freshest seafood in town. Salmon, shrimp, mahi-mahi, great priced chicken products, whole birds, tenders, chicken breast, and wings. Waco Custom Marketplace with smoked items unique to Waco, house-made bacon, summer sausage, boudin, hot links, and German sausage. Every seasoning for every occasion, grilling, baking, or frying. Your hometown grocery store with canned goods, pasta, fresh baked bread, buns, chips, sauce, condiments to pickles, charcoal and lighter fluid, cold beer and wine, best kolaches in Waco, mouth-watering cinnamon rolls, and here for the community every single day, helping you avoid the long lines in crowded stores, serving quality products to the Waco community. Go online for the weekly value boxes. Family owned and operated Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Texas Board Certified Personal Injury Trial Lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recalled drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at TexasTrialLawyer.com, principal office in Houston, Texas.
If If you or a loved one or friend has been arrested and you can't afford bail, trust Terry and Chase Chapman at Chapman's Bail Bonds, covering Waco and McLennan County for over 25 years. Chapman's can bail you out anywhere with experienced, knowledgeable local agents who are committed to serving you professionally, respectfully, and with the highest integrity. Chapman's understands your privacy is important. Your freedom can be secured fast when you use Chapman's Bail Bonds. Open 24 hours a day. Payment arrangements available. Call Chapman's Bail Bonds. When you need help, 254-754-1603. When you ring, we'll spring.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
The Sikkim 365 Radio Live Guest VIP Hotline is sponsored by Stonewood Dental. We are all in this together.
We're going to move back the vault, which we have some of the interviews from back in the day. This was 1996 with former heavyweight champion Joe Frazier, who wrote an autobiography. And so I had him on. I got him on. My producer back at the time, Dafford Morgan. Craig, you remember Dafford, lined up the interview. He was great. We were going to run that today at 5:30, but there's just so much to grab onto. And your feedback as well. Want to hear from you. Also on the text line, brought to you by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, or the phone lines at 254-339-1122. Works for the numbers, the calls, and the text messages. And a lot of you that I can weave through the idiocy of Twitter. We'll try to get some of the responses from you on that as well. Plus, we have Ed Orgeron on whether or not he now questions his thoughts about Bo Pelini. Update the Astros.
3-1 still, and the Rays are at the plate. Looks like they just got... I don't know. They're doing replays, of course, as soon as they go to the
3-1,
but it's 3-1 in the 7th inning.
Now, where do we start? Oh, Tristan Hill. The Cowboys have lost him for the year because of a torn, was that, Paul? An anterior cruciate, an ACL.
Yeah, Tristan Hill had not been playing.
Tristan Hill, offensive lineman, all this is going on. They've been hammered. Probably like that one year when they seem to have lost like every defensive lineman that you could possibly sign that used to drive a milk truck. You have what happened with Baylor, the numbers that Mack Rhodes confirmed, the weekend of college football, the baseball playoffs. LeBron wins his 4th NBA title, and the numbers, the ratings are 1/5 of what they were back in '98 when Michael won his last NBA championship during a Game 6.
Now,
of course, there's a lot of competition that they're facing now.
Yeah, I need to say on that, because there's a lot of people that use that for political takes and things like that. There's no doubt the numbers are way down, including the worst numbers ever for a finals game, I do believe. But not necessarily last night's, but two games ago. But if you look across the board, I mean, that's been the case. I mean, that's the case with a lot of entertainment. That's what Paul will say, award shows are basically going to the wayside. But, the hockey ratings, I can't quite remember, but it seemed like those were down. I would imagine MLB's numbers will probably be down as well. The NFL is really like the only one that seems to be completely Teflon. You know what I mean? And they all have fantasy sports, but I think just the NFL's popularity is so immense that there's like almost nothing that can hurt that league at this point.
No, you're right.
Basically nothing. So they're really the only ones that aren't facing it somehow or another.
Yeah, they go up against the NFL, which we know is the undefeated basically when it comes to numbers. Then the college football, which there are games when there are opportunities that also have been games that against the finals, baseball stretch drive and playoffs, and just the fact that there are some people who are turned off by the NBA as well.
I was going to say, there's a caveat. Now, I should say there are people that just don't care, and they don't care because of political reasons, or they don't care because maybe they don't like certain players or whatever the case may be. I could tell you, I mean, I said this, last week? I had no interest in this finals. I mean, it was inevitable to me what was going to be the end result, and not being like some big LeBron James fan because I was from the Jordan era. Again, respect the hell out of him. He's the greatest, arguably, of all time. I'm fine with people who want to make that argument. That's not a hill I care about dying on in any way, shape, or form. But I just did not care. And you know what? And going into next season, I'll watch the Mavericks, but I really don't care to watch any of the other stuff. And it's not political for me. It's just I'm just not interested in the brand and the players.
I think the political thing. By the way, the Rays just went yard,
solo bomb,
4-1. So I like the political stuff doesn't bother me. I mean, it does get a little tiresome of yes, okay, we get it. I'm I'm totally on their, their right to do all that stuff. It doesn't bother me, but it was, look, it's in the, like, I forgot that they were playing on a Sunday night, and I'm surprised. I know the NBA is trying to get the season over with, but, like, would it have killed you to push that game to Tuesday?
Yeah.
Like, where you would get more? Like, I know that, like, you think, oh, it's the finals, but Minnesota and Seattle is going to outdraw that all the time. Right. Finals or not. And Minnesota's not even good. I mean, so that's just going to outdraw it. Yeah. I mean, they blew a game last night. They had control. So, yeah, people are going to watch football over basketball. That's just the country that we're in. Baseball's been dealing with this for years. And guess what? You never hear people in baseball complaining about it. They get it. Their season overlaps. They're going to have World Series games that run up against football. They're not going to get the ratings that they want, but they've adjusted to the niche. They've found a way to do it. So basketball, yeah, it's a different time of year. But I do think that it was a conglomeration of all the factors where there were people who were just kind of tired of it, and then it's also the Lakers again. I know it's been a while for the Lakers, but
I'll tell you what it is for me. It was the LeBron-Lakers combo. It was almost like, okay, I again stated my position on being a Jordan guy, but don't care about who the GOAT is. I just don't care. It doesn't matter. But yeah, it's like, oh, do I really want to watch as a Mavericks fan the Lakers win a title with LeBron James? No, I really do not care to watch that in any shape or form whatsoever. And so I didn't. And by the way, the ratings were out for last night. 5.6 million tuned in to watch the Lakers win the title, the lowest rated final series on record. The 5.6 was less than half the number for Sunday Night Football. Vikings and Seahawks drew 11.4 million. And here's the context. So 5.6 million watched last night, right? The last Game 6 last year, the Warriors and Raptors, 18.34 million. 18.34 million last year. This year, 5.6. That's not just Corona. And part of it is the cable cutting, because there could be like 2,000 people watching all together and it counts as one or whatever. Yeah. But to show you how much cord cutting has also changed things, Michael Jordan, and I'm not using this as Michael LeBron comparison, it's a cable comparison. So last night, 5.6. Last year, it was the 18.3. The Bulls in 98, their Game 6 over the Jazz, 36.9 million. 36.9 million back in 98, 5.6 last night. Both Game 6s, both clinchers.
Yeah. And
that's pretty crazy.
And part of that was on NBC. It was on networks television. Everybody knew it. It was just now. If I asked you what channel the game was on, you would have guessed between 2 or 3.
TNT or ESPN.
And that might even be, even though there's many who are older than me or about my same age would be able to tell you immediately. I have to admit this. I'm going to do this right now. I didn't even know the Astros Game 1 was last night until it was basically over, because there's so much going on. And I would have watched, I have plenty of different options of view all over the place. But I have to admit that you had the Cowboys in the Dak story. We're working on, we had the update from Baylor on the football program game with Oklahoma State being shut down. I'm sorry, on my radar at that moment was Dak's injury, the Cowboys game, and Baylor and their game not being played because of what we do for a living. And then, yes, there was a game that was going on last night. What was it, Minnesota and Seattle. In Seattle. It was an amazing comeback. So I did not know. That's shame on me, but not. It's so much going on right now.
It's the first time
never been converged like this at one time.
It's the first time I've never even watched like a good chunk of the NBA Finals. I watched a little bit of one game because I walked in here and turned the TVs on. I was here on a weekend and I turned them on, see what was going on, and that was what came up when I hit ESPN. So I was like, all right, I'll watch for a second, and I left. But I mean, I was not invested in it at all. I kind of knew it was going to happen. Like the Heat were a great story, but
Butler was fantastic.
Yeah, it's all well and good, but I didn't care. And then I've watched so happy that we got football back.
Was it because it was a foregone conclusion, even though we have upsets?
Yeah. For me, a lot of that was, and because it's not only a foregone conclusion, but then the Heat have 2 of their better players get hurt like right away,
and yet it went 6 games.
It's even more lopsided. Well, Butler was heroic, but it was foregone conclusion. It's LeBron and LA, and I'm just like all the gushing by the NBA reporters who just treat him like he is Jesus Christ. I can't do it, man. I can't. Well, I had no desire.
And here's for me personally, what's happened is I didn't realize this until the other day, is even even in a normal year, I watch a lot of football, but like if I have to go cover, a game if I'm, at Baylor or at the Cowboys, well, I'll get to watch some games at the Cowboys, but you're kind of conversing. But we have this opportunity here where we're not having to be at a stadium and, so I get to watch, 8 games on a Saturday and 12 games on a Sunday or something like that. And I'm really enjoying it. So then I'm just so immersed in the football flipping around, going back and forth between OU, Texas and A&M, Florida was great the other day because both those games were fantastic.
Like it was already set up, to be a big weekend. But man, I did absolutely, when that announcement came down last week, like it was a bummer, obviously, everything with the news and you're like, man, they can't even take advantage of the bye week. And then it's a bummer they're not going to play this weekend. But on the bright side, like I would much rather be covering Baylor. I really actually would. But at the same time, am I mad that I can sit and watch all the games like I did this past weekend and flip from OU, Texas to the other great games going on? No, I'm going to really enjoy the heck out of that because college football is my favorite sport to watch with baseball right behind that.
All right, Cole Barber just put this up. For all those speculating about Baylor and Texas on 1024, probably good to remember that not all of Baylor's active cases and contact tracing came from last week. Some of that was prior to that. There are some things that have to get done. That's why they suspended the football program, and we'll see what happens. Is they're basically not going to get together for a while. And I know some that were positive that were a part of a week or so ago that would have been cleared to get back on Wednesday, I think it is. Mm-hmm. And so, one thing I've learned is not to try to speculate. It's just whatever we see, the numbers came out, and now you work on what you can do the rest of the way.
Yeah, and I forget who asked me this. I could probably find it quick. But you talk about speculation. One of the reasons why I asked Mac about the Oklahoma State game in particular was because I had somebody asking, well, like, hey, what happens if Oklahoma State, runs the table and they get to that final weekend and they're in playoff position and they're in a championship game spot and all of a sudden they got to play Baylor while the team they're going to be facing, whoever that may be, is off for that week. And I'm like, well, it's not really their choice, first of all. They're not the ones that get to make that decision. And I don't think the other conferences would be all that happy with Oklahoma State just skipping over a game and getting into the playoff potentially. You know what I mean? But what my main thing was in response, it was a valid question, was just, who the heck expects them, maybe not even expect them to run the table, but I'm not going to for a second think that there's not going to be some sort of interruption or some sort of funkiness going on the rest of the way.
There's going to be a team that's lost a game or two already right now that by the end of the year is going to look like they're going great guns. And because they lost early, because it's a weird year, this is how it's going to be. And the stopping and starting. And plus, assuming that Oklahoma State's just going to run the table, I mean, they haven't even played the best part of their schedule yet.
No. Here's the deal. To sit there and assume that they're going to have to be – they're forced to play a game the week before the Big 12 championship game was just ridiculous. I saw that kind of reaction as well. It's no choice. It's the last open opportunity to play the game. It's to push it back. And Oklahoma State in 2 weeks, they might be facing this same thing. And then, I hate it. I hate it for Oklahoma State, for Texas, for Oklahoma, for Iowa State, for Baylor, for everybody, because tomorrow morning you might wake up with a big old pile of, of COVID in your face.
Well, and it's one of those things where fans can point fingers and be snarky, but it's just like any kind of off-the-field controversy or anything else.
Yep. Wait a little bit.
Listen, the wheel of destiny spins, and you don't get to pick when it happens.
Ask Texas about the wheel of destiny after the "we're back" and how that's been since then, because they had a lot of fun with that at the time. Probably a little bit too much and hadn't had much fun since.
I agree. James Lynch got his first career sack last night in that Vikings win against Seattle.
Game. Yeah. First career game, he got his first career sack, so congrats to Lynch.
Joe Morgan.
By the way, on that before that, I was trying to get the full highlight for our open today.
On James
Lynch, and it just kept cutting it off to where Chris Collinsworth was talking. I wanted Al Michaels saying his name, which I couldn't find. But there were a million Vikings blogs and podcasts that were all like, would you let this guy play already, Mike Zimmer?
Yeah.
So,
Well, go ahead with that story.
No, go ahead.
Matt Rule and the Panthers
3 wins.
win again.
Yep, 3-2. He's 2-0 since he appeared on Sick and 365 Radio.
Yeah.
And don't think I haven't let him know that. The Texans started 0-4. Bill O'Brien fired. The Falcons started 0-5. Dan Quinn fired, as was their general manager, Thomas Dimitroff. The Jets and Giants are both 0-5. We saw why the Giants are 0-5. As well as they could have won that game, implode.
The Giants don't have players.
The Jets chose Adam Gase over Matt Rule.
Oh, I remember
because they
that.
didn't want him to pick his staff.
Joe Morgan passed away. This year, 6 Hall of Famers have died. Joe Morgan, Tom Seaver, Lou Brock, Al Kaline, Whitey Ford, and Bob Gibson. Almost like my youth flashing before my eyes. Whitey Ford a little bit older than most of those.
Yeah, but Joe Morgan was on television for a long time.
Awesome.
I love.
Remember the flap when he was in the batter's box? The little.
I never got to see Joe Morgan play. My remembrance of him is he and John Miller being one of the best broadcast teams ever.
He got a little ornery at the end. You know,
but even still,
you know,
Sunday Night Baseball.
He was apparently suffering from a nerve condition because I know now anybody passing away, people are like, was it COVID? And no, he had a nerve condition, a form of polyneuropathy. So, but yeah, I can hear his voice in my head right now and think of just baseball and
Paul, did you ever do baseball PA for Baylor?
Yeah, but did I ever?
No, like recently.
I mean,
there's
it's been
a young man
years.
named Cutter Sipple or Sipel. He's announced that he's no longer going to play baseball. I've really been going through a lot. Mental health is no joke. It's something I've really been going through along with my injury history. I want to thank Baylor. I think he was at TCU. He eventually got to Baylor. And so he's basically giving up the game.
I was 2 years in a row. I was Coach Rod's first year, and then they replaced me, and then they got real good. So I don't know.
There's a common denominator.
I don't know if I'm coming back.
Also, Baylor basketball will be a part of the 2K Empire Classic November 25th through the 26th, along with Villanova, Arizona State, and Boston College. And they updated the tournament. They had to update all of that, the field and where they were going to actually play. And those will be Baylor's first 2 games of the season. So they'll be there with Nova, Arizona State, Boston College, the Empire Classic, and the Mohegan Sun is where that will be played.
All right, a few more notes as we got a bunch of them. As Craig, I'm glad you kind of convinced us to we'll do Joe Frazier's interview. We can do that anytime. Bob Ballou down in Austin. Since 2010, the Texas football team is 2-7 against TCU, 3-9 against Oklahoma, 3-7 against Oklahoma State, 4-4 against West Virginia, 5-5 against Baylor and Kansas State, 5-12 versus Power 5 non-conference opponents, excluding bowl games, 2-11 against Power 5 non-conference opponents since 2013. The injury, we mentioned Skylar Thompson out for the year at Kansas State. The wide receiver Chapman at A&M who caught the game-tying touchdown.
He stood up and bent his knee, and he
went right back down.
Yeah.
He was
Travis.
He was not healthy.
Travis Etienne, Clemson's running back, has now scored in 39 games a touchdown, more than anyone in college football history.
Now, I know I've got to fly here. I know that this is...
Is this a debate?
Yeah, this is wishful thinking, but that Clemson doesn't have 2 guys that are nearly as good just waiting in the wings. But I, as a fan of a school in the ACC, I am so proud of those guys to graduate and move on. I can't wait for them to take the next step.
Behind them, baby.
I know.
Their backup quarterbacks just maybe another first round number 1 overall pick here in a couple of years. But every week when I look at the college football stats, and I know nobody's from Texas on the Clemson team, at least not on the offense, but every week, Travis Etienne right there at the top of the rushing, couple touchdowns, 100 yards. Every single week.
He is a dude now. I like that kid Spiller from A&M. Saw him in what he did. NBA final stat that we break, 254, 339, 11, 22. The NBA played 172 games in the bubble. They had not one single positive test.
Yeah, kudos to them on that. The NHL did a pretty good job.
Yep.
NBA did a good job. The NFL's having a hard time, with it right now. They've got a lot of little outbreaks going on. Did you see the new schedule they had to put together?
Yep.
I mean, I don't know who had to put that together, but kudos to that person as well, because there have been a lot of movement as far as the schedule goes with football. So yeah, man, it's a tough time, but absolutely hats off to the NBA and the NHL for the job that they did. And this just in from the Big 12 Conference. Big 12 football officials liaison Greg Burks acknowledges that a timing error did occur in the Texas-Oklahoma game. The play clock should have been set to 5:57 after the play where Ehlinger scrambled out of bounds. So what happened was, for those that don't know this controversy, 6 minutes and 6 seconds are left in the game. Oklahoma is up 31-17. So it looks like just get a stop and you're done, and they nearly did and dropped the first down. But anyway, so 6:06 left. Ehlinger runs out of bounds. The officials end up adding 46 seconds to the game clock. and UT scored a touchdown that sends the game to overtime. How much time was remaining when they scored that touchdown?
24?
14 seconds. So they scored with 14 seconds left to force what was 4 overtimes, when in reality, 46 seconds have been added to the game clock inexcusably. And so, yeah, I'm glad they at least acknowledged it, because I was wondering if the Big 12 would even do that.
They also stopped the clock. Smokey sent me a text when this happened. They stopped the clock on a completed pass that was 2 yards short
of the first
down. And I thought initially it's because I thought it was incomplete, but
no, it was a very much and so it's only fuels speculation that you get. It's Texas, and again they have their own complaints about what happens to them as well. But that's a bunch of time.
The Big 12 is bad overall.
Yeah.
You know, and
the SEC came out last night pretty quickly and said, "Listen, we screwed up the Arkansas game." That was, I think, yesterday. Yeah. They didn't wait till Monday evening.
And you're right, though, that it fuels people who have the conspiracy theories, because, you know, it's a hell of an accusation to go say, like, the Big 12 officials are cheating. You know, that's pretty heavy. You better have something to back that up. But all you got to do is watch the games, and it'll almost back up that opinion. Because how else do you explain that? That game should have been over.
46 seconds.
Should have been over.
Of course, Oklahoma could have made a catch.
But instead he goes 4 overtimes, and what would have happened if Texas would have won? And it doesn't matter. They lost. But still, it's just like that game should never even have gone the way that it did.
Back to wrap it up on this bizarre, crazy, wild, energetic Monday. This is Sikkim 365 Radio.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine is a hidden gem in Waco, Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street. If you're a fan of craft beer, you just need to go to their website, and you can count and some of these are seasonal, but I mean, even still, you take those out, there's still a lot of lines. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 18 lines of craft beer that they have available in their big, gigantic walk-in fridge at Riverbend Liquor and Wine. You go in there, you find what you want, and you're off. It's great. It's an amazing place. Whether it's spirits, wine, they'll find something to match. They'll find something that's great. They are just the place to go whatever you need. If it's for a party, if it's for you, it's whatever you want to do, they've got you covered. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, plus the great drive-through window. You just drive up, tell them what you want, give them your money, and get your butt out of there. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Bird Culchin Ford has been in Waco since 1936. Ford, the #1 selling truck in Texas, 43 years running. And Bird Culchin Ford proudly supports high school football in Central Texas. And no better way to tailgate with a Ford than from Bird Culchin Ford. And are there better vehicles to tailgate with than the Ford F-150 or the Ford Expedition? And of course, you can get them new pre-owned Bird Culchin Ford. Our sponsor of the Ford Tough Player of the Week, locally owned dealership. Online at bkford.com at 1701 West Loop 340 in Waco. Bird Culchin Ford.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel & Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel & Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel & Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Texas Farm Bureau Insurance has protected fellow Texans with auto, home, health, and life insurance since 1952. With more than 260,000 square miles of land and 27 million people, that's a lot to cover. Whether you're wrangling cattle or wrangling kids, we're proud to protect Texans in all Texan ways of life.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, specializing in diagnosis and treatment of any and all sport-related injuries, celebrating over a decade of service to Central Texas. They tackle all surgical and non-surgical problems that arise from an active lifestyle. Trust the doctors that Baylor trusts, and when injuries sideline you, don't wait for Monday. Join us at 8:30 on Saturday mornings for a post-game injury evaluation clinic. Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. We get you back in the game.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Log on to the Willis Law Firm chat room on Sikkim365.com.
All right. Do we have time for Orgeron or not? Probably not. The hell with him.
It's only like a minute.
Okay.
Right?
So,
something like that.
Yeah, he took a couple of Go ahead, Craig.
I do want to mention this, too. Baylor Women's Golf. Congrats on winning the Betsy Rawls Invitational. They swept the titles there down in Austin, second consecutive team title, and Gerling Carr, and I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name, won her second straight individual championship yesterday afternoon at the Betsy Rawls Longhorn Invitational. So there you go, a little Baylor Women's Golf success to pass along.
All right, so we can do a Orgeron a little bit later on. Also, thanks to our newest sponsor, Muscle Wise Nutrition. We appreciate them. They are the newest sponsor of what we do every day on Sikkim 365 Radio. Of course, the Nhra Group, more recently as well. Thanks to George Harmon and company for that, and the sponsor of the Phil Bennett segment, which is, again, he dropped some gold on us today. The thought that they were, after all those years of being criticized, and sometimes rightfully so for their non-conference schedule, that they were trying to, when they were turning the corner to be really, really good, maybe trying to play against somebody in the non-conference game.
Yeah, I mean, that was at one point, it was funny. It was like all the complaints that people had, like it had been whittled down to basically, well, they just don't play anybody. That was the argument. That was the only argument you really had, was they just don't play anybody. And, then shortly thereafter, there became a lot of other things. But, I mean, perhaps if they had scheduled somebody of substance, then there would have been no argument, quite frankly.
I would have loved to turn in that bill to our old owner of me going to Australia to watch Florida State.
Yeah, well, they did try to do some things towards the end. They did.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think, and we even mentioned this with Ian McCaw at the time when he was on with us every week. He alluded to it. I mean, he was very diplomatic. He said, like, it's not like I can just pick up the phone and say, hey, you guys want to play.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of teams that they said they didn't want to play.
Yeah. I mean, so if you call up Alabama and Alabama says no, it's not like, what's an athletic supposed to do? But like, hey, I called Alabama. They said no. I called Florida State. They said no. I called this person. They said no. Come at me.
Yeah.
Like, that's not how it works.
Right. I think it was a little bit of both, most likely. It doesn't matter now, obviously. But, yeah, that was the only complaint there for a little while. But, I mean, it's funny to see Kendall at Arkansas, and they didn't score a bunch of points, but, Auburn's got a good defense. And so that was a tight game. Arkansas should have won that game. Arkansas's got a good defense. And, of course, what you're seeing with Ole Miss, I mean, I felt like I was watching the old Baylor team on Saturday night. I really did. And then, what actually ended up happening was that game went like I think that Baylor and Alabama or Baylor and, whoever back then probably would have gone. It would have been really good, but eventually, those athletes would, for Alabama just take over. And I don't know if Ole Miss got worn down defensively or what the case was, but I mean, that's how I think those games would have been back in the day, those dream scenarios, if they would have occurred. Not the same outcome necessarily, but similar, energy and troubles for those teams that tried to mock that offense or mock the Big 12.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And it's a good friend of mine, Brian Houston, he used to do the show when I was out.
I used to do a show with him.
Yeah, you did. You did on 99.3. You're right. He's an SEC guy. He's an LSU fan, and he was, while we're rebuilding. Well, I mean, there wasn't like every Big 12 school program defense wasn't at times young or rebuilding, and there was I think COVID made them soft. That too, but it's also because of the offenses that even Alabama is having to run to keep up, and what LSU won with a year ago, and what's at Ole Miss, and what's going to be at Arkansas, and what's at this and that and this and that.
It was funny to see last year. Everybody's like, this offense for LSU is incredible.
Oh, I know.
It's tremendous. And it's like, we've been watching this for 15 years in the Big 12.
Yeah.
Welcome to this brand of football.
I do
but
think
they could never get it over the top.
I do think it's funny that there are people like us who watch. I'll watch football. I can judge, but I'll watch Big 10, Pac-12. I'll watch them all.
Yeah.
It's a good game. It's a good game. I don't care. But there are people who just pigeonhole their viewing experience into their own region so much that when they find out what Baylor scored 68 points today,
yeah,
bro, where you been?
It's it's the tribal mentality that is ruining this nation, man.
Yeah, come on, there's a big beautiful world out there.
Open your mind a little bit and see that it's not just black and white all the time. Yep.
Thank
absolutely.
you to everybody. Armstrong, Sims, CJ. Man, you guys had to weave in and out of changes. We had to move some names around. We had to, of course, Mac Rhodes. We'll have the Joe Frazier interview, which I hate, but, there was just more important things. We'll have that will run from the vault. Tom Landry eventually from an interview from many years ago as well. The bottom line is to wrap up this day. Mac Rhodes, Baylor's Director of Athletics. It's on the podcast. It's up on all of our social media. It's on SicEm365.com. Is that he told us today that there are 32 positive cases of student athletes at Baylor with COVID. 28 of them are football players. And 14 additional positive cases when it comes to staff, coaches, trainers, strength and conditioning, whoever, as a part of that as well. And then on top of that, there are also those with contact tracing. What was the number? 44?
17 of those are football players.
17 of those are football players. And it's just one of those things. And
So that means you've got 45 football players right now that are somehow from either positive or close contact, plus 14 staff members.
Thanks to Dave Aranda from earlier today, Babe Laufenberg, March, Kevin Hoffman, Greg Jacobs of Crawford, Mac Rhodes, Billy Meyer, Texas Motorplex, Phil Bennett, former Baylor defensive coordinator, Paul Catalina, Craig Smoke. Thanks to all of you who listen, who watch SicEm 365 Radio online, on the app, YouTube, Periscope, Facebook, and more. I'm David Smoke. It's been an eventful afternoon, and we'll try to come back and do it again better tomorrow. Good night on SicEm 365 Radio.
Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Born in Waco, Brotherwell Brewing exists to serve the Central Texas community with locally crafted beer of the highest quality. They want to bring Central Texas closer to the brewing experience so everyone can enjoy well-made beer as much as they do. For 2.5 years, they've been bringing high-quality beer to Central Texas at their location on Bridge Street in East Waco. And this football season, you need to stop by on game day for curbside pickup or stop by their tent next to SicEm 365 at Brazos Parking for your pregame refreshment. Brotherwell Brewing believes in community community and bringing people together to enjoy products made in their community. So for your game day, whether it's a tailgate or at home, stop by Brotherwell Brewing for high-quality craft beer made right here in Central Texas, 400 East Bridge Street, and check them out online at brotherwell.com.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
At Baylor University, students can shine in their own way. Or should we say their own ways? Because there's no limit to the ways Baylor students make the world a brighter place. Whether they're leading a student organization or following a higher calling, getting advice from faculty, or taking part in world-class research, pursuing their dreams, or working toward their dream job, students find their place to shine at Baylor, where lights shine bright.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jewelry, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs, too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.